and let me know.
Okay.
Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 360. We got Robert with us and Charles to talk about Shag Harbor and some current UFO news. Hearing a strange clicking. Is that my jawbone? Hopefully it is. Got clicking sound in my ear. The aliens are here.
They're back. The men in black.
Okay, CPU's peaking up. I'll just try and pause that. See if it speeds up. Here we go. Looking better. Anyone out there? Say hi in the side chat and we'll know you're there. If you're new to Twitch, click on the follow tab. If you want to give a donation, a tip, to show appreciation for what we do here, you can do it for $1 upwards. The tip link is in the About tab of Twitch.
Not that we have done it lately. I've nothing.
Must be no donations or tips, I should say, for at least 2 months. We got memberships though. We at least we got something coming in.
Yeah.
Robert and Area 51 paying regular monthly stuff, and Charles, Susan, I think it is. Who was the other person?
Area 51? Or is it donating on the
We've got about 5 donating at the moment. So it's not much, but it's a little bit.
Yeah, but at least it's there for you every month.
Yeah, for now anyway.
There.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Good to be back. Hopefully we don't get cut off or hacked or anything like that. Lots of crazy stuff happening at the moment. So yeah, looks like the big censorship is rolling out, the big purge, and lots of people losing their accounts left, right and centre. And also DOS attacks, DDoS they call them, denial of service, where they keep making requests to keep loading a page from like 1 million users out there with bots, infected machines, which then brings down the server with overloads. So, technical stuff there. Is it all working there fine? Let's have a look.
Yep.
We've got 4 pop up now. So I'll just type up the welcome message. Robert can say what he's going to do today. Says 4 here, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I can hear a clicking sound. I'm not sure if it could be my neck. I was just worried if it's a hardware problem. But it's actually a bio-hardware problem. It's me breaking down. OT live stream. 360, I think it is. Sunday. UFO cases with Robert. I'm not sure if Robert's with us. I haven't heard him. He's gone quiet. It's UFO cases.
Yes, I'm here.
I said,
love me.
So give a overview of what you're going to be doing today, and while I type up the welcome message.
Well, yeah, the meat of it is going to be Shag Harbor incident, Nova Scotia, Canada, 1967. But before that, there was a couple of little things. We got that public bill that was passed through the Senate. So from the 1st of January, the UAP task force had 180 days to report to the Select Intelligence Committee at the Senate. Their report on UAP. So they've got, 160 odd days remaining now. So we'll have a little look at that as well. Mm-hmm. And there was also a little bit of a clip I wanted to play from Luis Elizondo on a recent interview on the Blackvault.
Yeah, I just want to add some news bits as well. You've obviously forgotten about him, but there was a top researcher list put out, and it caused a bit of a stir, especially to the fraud channels out there. A particular person, this one here, named Mr. Dick Rich. So we'll just go through it, and we'll just add our own comments to it. There's also some attacks going on these two guys, William Pullin and what's her name again? Venus, was it?
Yeah, Venus Bavanda.
Gufon
he was
vile.
Yeah, he's been attacking them, saying that they do nothing for ufology, but unfortunately they do have a group of people that are experiencers, and they need, they need a release or help with people that's also experienced it, and maybe experts giving them some mental relief, I guess, which we try to do as well with some people. We try our best. We're not experts or doctors or anything, but it always helps to get things off your chest, I think. Even if it's in private, on Discord, we'll keep your information private, unless you post it.
Unless you post it, Robert, on the side. Robert?
Yeah.
Yes?
Can you answer that comment on the side? Because I don't know whether you've done anything in the past.
Oh, hold on.
So, Paul, carry on.
You guys done any coverage of the US Space Marines announcement? Nothing is made without a call Space Marines. I'm not sure. Not sure who you're talking about there.
Yeah, I've not heard that thing. I've heard Space Force, but not Marines.
Yeah, I've heard Space Force, but Space Marines.
Also, we got a post yesterday that you might want to look into too.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what the Marines would be doing in space. But yeah, I'm sure you could explain it in another way, possibly.
Perhaps they're ready to be dropped off on the planets for attack. Drop them, parachute the Marines in.
Retake America.
Yeah.
It's Chinese owned, I heard now, apparently. But anyway.
Or maybe incorrect. It was rebranded. Yeah. I think probably talking about the Space Force, which I'm very skeptical about, to be honest.
Yeah. I think they plan on it, and they're working with SpaceX on it, maybe. But still, I don't think there's been anything out there as such. They may have had some illegal satellites they put up there, which they're not telling the world, just in case. But it may be like Reagan was trying to bring up this Star Wars defense, right? I think they got something like that in space for sure by now. But anyway, we know there's spy satellites that move around. Chinese are doing it, and they know Russians are doing it, and they can actually knock US satellites out of space. They can move along and then tap them on the edge, and off they go. I've covered that in the past. But also there was someone else. Was it Tommy yesterday said, "Oh, can you look at this case?" And I said, "Yeah, just post it to Robert on his room, and he'll look at probably add it into next Sunday." I think what was it called now? What was it on about? Can you remember, Charles? It was about triangles, I think. But anyway. A triangle craft, recent triangle craft.
It was their ambulance, wasn't it? They said it, wasn't it?
I thought it was Tommy,
was it some triangle UFOs over Washington or something, wasn't it?
Anyway,
not Hudson Valley by any chance, no.
I don't know.
I'll have to check the messages on Discord and stuff.
Yeah, we did it on yesterday's show, and I said no, we'll leave that one for Robert. It's like pages and pages long, so I'll leave you to have a look at it. Also, DeBrief is in trouble again with a non-UFO video, and everybody, including myself, has offered to vet for him. If they keep putting up garbage like this, they need to have some skilled people. If you want your videos vetted, eh?
You got a homecomer, you have? They're from Auckland.
Yeah, Auckland.
Christchurch. We're in Christchurch. JD's normally hanging around here too, also from Christchurch now.
Yeah, not far from you there.
Yeah.
Auckland.
So, just kick this off then, and we'll just see if the audio works. So, Gufon's made some claims on the top 10 list that Dave's got. He's working as a editor or something for UAP, is it? This crowd here, UAP research website, and he's put out this article that they published. Dave Scott, is it 4 days ago? Let's just refresh that. I don't think it's 4 days ago.
No, it's more than that now.
For some reason the web is very slow. Maybe there's a lot of people on lately because of all the chaos of censorship. Let me just check my connection. Yeah, it's 1 gig. Sometimes we get a cable fault here. Alright, it's 1 week ago now. It's updated. So we'll just go through the top 10 and we'll just discuss it anyway. But we'll start off with him complaining about it because it's kind of funny, and it's caused him a bit of backlash as well. Yeah, I'll just make sure the volume's alright. Is it going to play?
Created an illusion, and he's working it to the best of his abilities.
Okay, I might have to scroll back a wee bit.
Is there any ability at all? Why would Bob McGuire and this guy, Steve McDaniel?
Okay, I'll just scroll it back a wee bit, and we can listen to this fraud mock everybody, which we don't do here anymore. We're trying to be better people.
Try not to.
Okay.
McShillen.
Now, he calls him Tim McShillen because of the balloon video, but and of course this other one they've just put up too. So they keep working into his hands. Okay, is that the start of it?
But you know what? People look at Lou.
Oh, here we go.
And they see ufology.
Is it loud enough?
They really do. They look at him as somebody who, because most people don't really know. We've talked about this before. It's less than 1% of the global population that does what you and I do. And that's listen to UFO paranormal shows like this all the time.
I think that's
There's
right.
not a lot of us. It's a lot, but it isn't. But we make a lot of noise. And Lou now is the face of ufology. He's almost like a Jaime Maussan face. You know Jaime Maussan? Hey! He is the face of UFOs in Mexico and was named the UFO Researcher of the Year, I believe, in 2015.
Was it Open Minds?
I don't know, somewhere. I think Tom DeLonge was in 2015. And then a year later, it was TTSA. And then Jaime. That's what Lou's become, the face. Lou helped debrief politicians and media alike about the reality of the UAP phenomenon. He said the same thing 90 times. He didn't say anything new. He said they're a threat. There are these things, you know, the Catalinas. We've seen it on Unidentified. These tic-tac shaped objects. You've seen the 3 videos. Yeah, that are bullshit.
Hey, so I won't call the 3 videos BS because it has changed the world and out there on the UFO subject. So it has done some good. It's opened it up again and got some maybe insiders to finally talk like the pilots. So I think it's been a positive thing. It's just not as good as we expected. What do you think on that, guys?
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, the TTSA and, well, Luis Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, those guys, they've brought the subject forward a great deal since that first article broke in December 2017. Okay, now this is Dave Scott's list of researchers, isn't it? Now I'm quite surprised that he included Luis Elizondo because he's actually always been quite negative about TTSA in general.
Yeah, it's number one.
Say that's could never get an interview with him. So I don't know, but I've got no huge argument with him being there, to be honest, because
would you say he's a researcher though? I would say he's number one influencer, along with Chris Mellon, and maybe Chris Mellon is the top one really for me. He would be like second.
Christopher Mellon is the one who can pull more strings than anybody else. Yes,
yeah,
he has the most influence and the most money to boot. But I've got no argument with Luis being there.
But
I think
he deserves to.
I don't think that he's a researcher as such. Investigator. Yeah, I think Dave needed to justify, maybe change the head of researcher, investigators, and influencers, maybe something like that. I would have covered it all then, or broke it up a bit more.
That might have been better.
Yeah, let's just go through the guys. We don't have to play the Gufon, do we? I
just want to play Gufon because because Dave Scott and him used to be good friends, and I think they're falling out over his comments on it. So we're going to have a quick listen to that and have a laugh, really. We'll just go through it as he's insulting them and see if we agree or not.
Along with Christopher Thornton Mellon, Lou helped debrief... Oh, I already said that? Not without his detractors. Lou's message has remained the same. We don't know what these craft are. We need to find out. Wow. So prophetic. We don't know what they are. We need to find out. Woo! Wow. I mean, I almost flew out of my seat with excitement reading that. He's a compelling guy. He's one of us. Until we know differently, he says, we have to analyze these craft as a threat. There we go. Threat.
It's idiot, me.
UAP. We need to find out. Until we know differently, The unfortunate part of Lou's story is...
Well, apparently, if they're flying over military practice or whatever, that is considered a threat, I suppose. Well, flying over America without any call sign is obviously classed as a threat until, shoot first, ask questions later policy of Americans. Yeah, right. There might be friendlies, of course, we just don't know. It could be like a DARPA project still. Some of them people out there think, because they want to test out the military without giving them too many clues that it's actually a test to see their reactions, which kind of makes sense. Could it be that a higher classified than the regular classification? Of course it could. Anyway. You've heard that story that Robert brought out on Roswell the other time, that the guy still kept military secrets to his grave. What was his name for Roswell? What's the guy's name?
Jesse Marcel.
Yeah, that's the one. And he still took a lot of stuff to his grave there because he was told it would affect American security.
So he says, yeah.
So what's that? What he knows about? Is it underground bases or something like that? Who knows? But we'll just keep on listening. No, he was
talking about the Roswell incident in particular, wasn't he?
Yeah, but what's the secrets involved?
Down bases.
Yeah, well, what's the secret there? Maybe they were doing some test flights. He was told about it, but still hasn't been released. Maybe something like that. So he may know that they were actually testing craft at the time, and it wasn't that. He may have been debriefed on that, right? So who knows what he's took to his grave?
I don't know.
But anyway, we don't want to go back to Roswell. I'm just saying. So of course, he's always been skeptical that Chris Mellon and these guys come from the government and could be Mr. Dody's, right? Which I'm not too sure if that's true anymore, but who knows? We'll just keep on listening anyway.
NDAs with the United States government, he can't tell us what he'd likely love to tell us. We have to take him at his word. Yay! It's a perfect world for Lou, right? Sometimes in this field, that is hard to take. But for now and in the near future, Lou Elizondo will remain the most important cog in the UFO information wheel. No! Oh, man, how could you write that? Wow. Wow. You really want him on the show. Lou, you gotta go on. You gotta stop it. Dave's gone crazy. He's absolutely lost his mind.
Of course, that's where
no.
Dave was
over.
upset with him.
It is over. 2021's gonna be different.
No, it's not. So far, it ain't.
I know. Me and Dave have talked about Lou Elizondo. And he believes the guy more than he disbelieves him, I believe. But when you put it down on internet paper, oh, you gotta be effing kidding me. Look who's number 2. Can you believe this shit? This is 2020, the ending? Oh my God, thank God. Because if this came out tomorrow, I would have to say 2021 started off as the worst year ever. It's Tim McShillen, Batman balloon. Boy.
Of course, it's not a Batman balloon. I've been over that.
Look at this. The guy who came out of nowhere, right, made these great connections somehow in just a couple of years and was delivering documents and stories to, well, anyone who would listen. But where did he get this information? Who is this guy? And of course, he's part of the Twitter UFO Young Guns. You know, Lou is really part of that group, but yes and no. Lou's I guess
neither of them are young,
Lou's
though.
in the upper echelon.
They're not in the 20,
Like you have Lou,
30 range.
and then everybody else. Right? Wouldn't that be like that? It would be like that for the 20s.
How old is Tim anyway?
Like.
Any 40s or 50s? How old is Tim, do you think?
I would say 50.
I don't know, 40s, I think.
Yeah.
I'd go 50.
So he's in our age bracket range. Well, the most of the people that watch us anyway, and 40 plus. So he's not part of the. They might be part of the Young Guns influence, but they're certainly not Young Guns themselves.
And then Tim McShillen would be like one of his right-hand guys, you know? They all come from the same place. McShillville. Yeah, you've heard of it. We raise them dumb and we train them young. Something like that.
They certainly trained you well, Gufon.
Their critical thinking is awfully strange for being government and military people. Just not smart in the ufology field at all. And Tim McShillen pulled off a hoax just a month ago. Not a hoax, I should say. A lie. Hey, there, that's the word I'm looking for. He lied to you.
He's
and
a hypocrite, this guy.
On the list on
Double
number
standards.
2? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. The guy totally scammed everybody into going to the website he opened, went public with, by creating this story with him and Bob McGuire, who's also on the list. Bob McGuire's on the list. How? Brandon Fugel. Zig Fugel's on the list. Everybody at Skinwalker. I'm not Stu Gerson, but I'm from the same mold. This man created an illusion. And he's working it to the best of his abilities.
He's a mental, this guy.
No ability at all.
He does, doesn't he?
Bob McGuire. Yep. And this guy.
You know, trying to suggest that Fugel is Führer, in German Führer, because because he's rich and he controls, or he pays people to research on Skinwalker. Doesn't make him a Hitler, does it? And of course, that's why he's on the list, right? He's trying to prove that there's at least a portal or something over the ranch that sort of opens up occasionally and brings in entities or alien creatures or UFOs. So I could see why Brandon's on there, because he's got the money to pay the other people to do the research while he's busy making the money or whatever. So yeah, I could see why Brandon could be on that list. Although their show has been pretty poor, and they need better critical out-of-box thinking like me and maybe Earl Grey and people like that on the show. But that probably will never happen anyway.
Steve McDaniel be in the top 10. I don't get it.
Now, those guys, I think, are part of the Sky Hub project, right? So, if you're not familiar with the names. I just say in the article, I think, what they do.
He's a nice guy. But I could tell you right now, I've done way more than Bob McGuire for ufology.
Oh, no, you haven't.
Do a show every night. Pretty much, right?
Yeah,
Boots
disinformation. This guy does a show every night and creates a lot of noise out there, which we debunk every Saturday now. Because there's so much noise coming out of the Dream Team.
Analyzing
UFO clouds.
Google shit, looking at UFO videos and pictures galore every day. And Bob McGuire and this guy, Steve McDaniel, whatever his name is, McDaniel, are in the top 10 of Dave Scott's top 10 researcher of the year. That's just wild. And I realized something. Dave really likes all these guys. He had Brandon Fugel on his show. Nice big show. So, you got to throw him in there. See, it's people who've been on the show or you want on the show are in this article. You understand?
I see Grant Cameron's on there. I wouldn't have put him in the top 10 list. Maybe when he first started in the field with the Red Star incident, but certainly that's something that we're going to have to cover as that case at some stage, Robert. But it's got the reporters on there. I suppose, again, are they researchers in UFO? I guess they are, even though they're reporters, because they're talking to leakers and things, right, and bringing out new information. So I guess that's part of investigation. So I can see why they're on there. And Dolan, I think Dolan's on the list, isn't he? I wouldn't have him on the list either. I don't think Dolan's done really anything positive for the UFO field in at least a couple of years. Also 4 years, is it? Anyway.
Except, people, there's a couple in here, like Chris Mellon might be a good one. George Knapp does do good broadcasting. James Fox, I love.
Okay, would you say James Fox is a researcher? I guess you would, because he's brought out some new people, interviews, leakers and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's done it only for his...
You've completely skipped some of these guys now.
No, we'll go through it.
First.
Yeah.
But you've skipped.
No, he's skipping, but we'll go through the list ourselves. We're just giving it at the end as a summary. So just hang on, we'll just finish this idiot. And he's already insulted Dave, saying that he's only made this list to try and get the people on the show, or he's had on the show, which obviously is going to cause some feathers to ruffle.
Phenomenon, great frickin' movie. He gets to be in the list, I think. Keane and Blumenthal. Yeah, I guess you could. I thought about that one. They were breaking the news of the UAP task force and how Senator Marco Rubio would be looking into setting up his task force to look into the phenomenon. By the way, which is a threat. See, and I don't like that. I don't like that they're all aboard the threat, because that's what's popular right now with mainstream media, and these people are strictly in it for that.
See, you copied the side chat the same as me.
They're not doing anything other than reporting shit. Do something. There's somebody who does something. Grant Cameron.
I think he should be the one not on the list.
No. Do I need him? No. Do I need anybody? Maybe. But I don't get it. Why he would be left off. He wouldn't be left off this list. But he was on the show. Yes.
Those two, the ones pushing alien autopsy again, which we know is just BS, and also the Wilson documents, which clearly reads like a fabricated story, and also sort of tried to split up the UFO community on abductions. So, yeah, I wouldn't have put those on the list whatsoever. But yeah, like you said, Dave Scott likes those guys, doesn't he? He likes the woo-woo type people. But I found Dolan, to me, if he doesn't like debunkers, and he doesn't debunk himself really, unless it's really basic, half-assed stuff, where he's a wee bit skeptical of the witnesses or something like that, from what I've seen anyway. But yeah, he certainly doesn't like debunking. Like Dr. Lear's Turkish video, which has been debunked in many ways now, but certainly internal lens reflection, if you ain't seen my episode on it. But yeah, he totally ignored my episode on it. You should have watched my episode. You would have seen it matched up 100% because I overlaid the images. I'm not sure if you've seen that one, Charles, at all, but
No.
I know you're a bit late to the party here.
I'm catching
Dolan
up.
was just on. So you have to throw Dolan in. What has Dolan done?
Exactly.
I keep asking people, what has he done except just report on shit? Ugh. Did Bob McGuire come out with that Sky Hub this year, or was it last year?
I think it's still
Early in
prototype,
2020,
isn't
the
it?
UFO community started listening closely to a pair of very intelligent people. These two individuals are designing and helping construct Sky Hub. It's a revolutionary way to track potential UFOs right from your home. Your brain power and McDaniels' technology savvy, along with McGuire's technical and scientific background, have made a huge step in helping ordinary people with extraordinary experiences soon becoming a reality. Huh?
Actually, I think that needs to be sort of, once that sort of rolls out, that actually might actually be useful. You've heard about abductees, cameras going offline and all that. If you got some real eggheads that's developing this, and those abductees put them around their house and it goes all wrong, I think that in itself would be evidence that their claim might have merit. You know what I mean there? There's not really an absence of evidence in camera footage, because it turns off when they said that they were being abducted. And if they build their systems so it can't be tampered with like that, I think it might open up a doorway there. But he's saying that they're not actually doing much here, I think. I think there's a lot of potential ahead here.
Has made a huge step in helping people with experiences soon become a reality.
So he doesn't understand.
Regular people who have experiences will be able to document it. I guess that's what that means. Sky Hub isn't officially complete and on the market. So how can Bob McGuire and this guy be on the list? You can't!
Okay, we've probably had enough of him now. Well, that one anyway. I think it sort of went backwards for him. It went next day. What was this one here? I think he fell out with Dave, and he was trying to do apology.
100,000 views, 215,000 views from a week ago.
All right. I think that video was meant to be on the other one. Remember, I said I thought I posted it in the right place. I think I posted it on the wrong browser. Is that the one? Talking about this Redstone website that's putting up a lot of CGI fakes, and it's got like 200,000 subs already. Yeah, is that the one? Have I got the wrong one here? I think that was what went to be showing yesterday. That one's probably got it in the list, is it? Let's just have a quick.
The balloons going off.
Has it got Redstone there at all? It's got that crazy Mary Hall there.
Yeah, Mary's there.
And that Gene Ward that keeps putting up those stupid rock Mars structures, which is gobblers. I thought he was going to be a problem at one stage. That one was meant to be there, so let's see, it must be the next video. Unless it was on there. But it doesn't matter, we'll just carry on. Try this one.
There. How could I make such a mistake when I read the whole article?
Okay, so we just skipped where he's bitching that he's better than Bob McCry and he wasn't on the list. But we've noticed he doesn't read things properly. He's made lots of mistakes in the reading, and he's got the opposite to what the article was saying. Like Tim McShillen clearly stated Milo Pullin, but this guy keeps saying that he was disinformation, right? And putting up a balloon video for the story. And of course, then he was. What else? I've lost my track of thought now. Sorry. I'll just play what he's going to say here. But he said he wasn't on the list, but he actually got a mention on the list, which is not on there now because he made such a big fuss about it that Dave took him off again. But Dave said honourable mentions was this guy, which he should never be on any top 10 lists, regardless. Unless he's on the fraud top 10 list. So what do you reckon on that one, Charles?
He shouldn't be on there, full stop.
Not on the top researchers. He's already said in multiple videos that he's no researcher, so he certainly shouldn't be on that list. So I
wouldn't put him in the top 100.
Yeah, so he bitched about being on the list, and once Dave put him on it, and once he knew he was on it, and then Dave took it off because he was making such a big fuss about it. And he said he wouldn't want to be on the list with those guys, which is kind of stupid, really. But anyway, he's a bit stupid like that. That's a good way to get advertising traffic to your channel, at least.
If it was me, it would have been a compliment.
Yeah,
that's right. Not with him, yeah.
We'll just play a minute of this.
Damn thing. I saw John Greenwald did not see my name anywhere. So I'm going to go by the fact that this person was real adamant that I was definitely in the article. That's why they sent it to me. Because they wanted me to see that Dave put me in that, not the top 10, but as an honorable mention, because you could only fit 10 in a 10. And I didn't say anything that was over the top, but it was just enough it would make me mad. Like, because I thought I wasn't in there, and I thought he was just trying to put me on there to shut me up, and maybe that's why he thought, which it isn't true, that's why I was mad about his list, because I wasn't in it. It's not true at all. That never happened. That
was true, because he was bitching about it to start with. But he also has accused UFO Joe, what's his name, Joe Merger, that he wanted Gufon censored on Facebook and YouTube, and he didn't read the comment properly, right? Because he was replying to me, and he said he doesn't want him censored on either of those platforms, but he read the sentence after that first introductory bit and he missed the "nor," and it says censored on blah blah blah, right? And he said, "Oh, there you go. They want to bring this down and silence this." And he's been going. He still talked about that the other day. So he's mentioned it about 4 times now that the young guns want him censored. Well, I'm pretty sure they do want him controlled a wee bit. Maybe not deleted, but maybe if they remove the money from his channel, he might disappear, hopefully, because he won't be able to get super chats. So he would have to do something else. But I think Google likes the money coming in too much to be able to do something with this guy.
That was all me getting triggered, and something didn't see my name there.
You always get it wrong.
I think that's awfully weird.
You got a mental issue.
Matter of fact, I even think I read it twice. You know, you go through it fast, and then you read everything, and
he may have a problem. What do you call it? Where you read the sentence and you get it all jumbled up or whatever, and gets a different meaning. Yeah, that's sort of a mental problem, I think.
COVID. I could swear I wasn't in it. So I want to apologize to Dave. You know, apologies later are better than never. And, you know, I feel bad that I said what I said on...
He never said an apology to you, Charles.
Some of the things.
No.
but I
will.
can't take them back, and nor do I want to, because I think the list is really strange, in my opinion. And lists are people's opinions, are they not? Why don't we make these lists and show their accomplishments for 2020?
Yeah, I'm not too sure how Dave did that. He may have done a poll and people replied to it. I don't know. So he might be wrong. It might not be opinion. It may be based on a poll, and then he just wrote up the article. So who knows? Because this guy doesn't do any research or ask first before he starts blasting people.
20. Well, then I would have to put myself in the top 10. But as for the year, to be in a top, no, I don't like that list. That's what triggered me. And they were all people that were either on Dave's show or he wants on the show. And of course, I went that way and was saying, "Oh,
okay, so he's still upsetting Dave there." Claiming he's had motives for the list. Anyway, I think we're finished with his opinion on that now. He also been trashing William Pullin here too, and we'll just go back to the list in a minute to sum up, and we'll let Robert take over. Okay, so I think it starts off.
Advice of a dentist.
So we just need to roll up.
Robert's raring to go, I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we ain't going to take. It's not too much longer here.
Say anything about him. It's just weird.
Objective investigation.
Okay, we know he said lots about these two, saying he's not a historian and attacked him.
Where?
Now he's changing the story. This is the thing with this guy.
Let me find out and see if this person is still here.
Looks like we can't get this. Here we go.
Thank you. I like that little fox.
Okay, from here.
Okay, looks like this person's not around. So let's see if I can find it myself.
You just want to participate.
This is the guy who claimed to be a UFO. Well, Dave Scott gave him the name UFO historian. He stopped using it because he's not a historian. As a matter of fact, I don't even think the guy knows what he's talking about. It is amazing how much this guy gets things wrong. It's really amazing.
It's amazing how much Gufon gets wrong.
I don't know why you would start ripping on me. I didn't say anything about him.
No, you just trashed him in the last 2 episodes.
The operative word is a degree, but making jokes, they're making fun, they're cracking.
13, they both mix. They have a healthy mix. A lot of witnesses are
he keeps skipping what we're saying.
Traumatized and troubled by what they've seen. They're not going to want to be laughed at. They're not going to want to be. If you're providing that to the public, even if you're saying it's even entertainment, sensationalizing the field research work, the UFO question is not solved. It's going to take.
Skipping.
Advocate. Martin Willis is.
Why he was playing it then?
Here, but we have moments.
Yeah, I just want to talk about. We'll give our opinion on it.
They both mix. They have a healthy mix of serious conversation, which makes light of their experiences. That's this. A lot of witnesses are traumatized and troubled by what they've seen. They're not going to want to be laughed at. They're not going to want to be tuned into a program that takes their experiences lightly, makes light of their experiences.
So what he's saying there is Dave and Gufon there, or maybe even Blake Cousins, sort of turn it into entertainment about the abductions or abductees and not taking their mental status seriously, right? So they're trying to make money off it. I think that's what William's trying to say there. And of course, mocking voices and all that in the UFO field is seen as piss taken, really, isn't it? The whole field. He thinks it's entertainment, but it's not. Most of us, 99%.
If you're on the receiving end of it, it's not funny.
No, 99% of us take this field very seriously because we want to find answers. We're not here to just make money from it and have a laugh at people. So yeah, you know more about William Pullin than I do, Robert. Would you say he's a UFO historian or not?
Absolutely, yeah. He's read more books than you could think of. He knows the history of ufology inside out, and he hasn't been into it for 4 years, like Gufon said. I think he began in the late 80s. That makes over
89.
30 years of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. He said he didn't even know what the year Roswell crash happened on a panel, which I find
don't
maybe
be stupid. He knows exactly what year it was and the exact date.
Yeah. That Gufon's putting out misinformation or disinformation and trying to belittle people is what I find. And he also didn't know the Renison Forest incident. He said 1982 on the panel. He wasn't too sure of the date and year. And Gufon said, "Oh, I know, it was 1980." Yeah. But yeah, Gufon gets lots of stuff wrong.
1980, maybe he did. Maybe he did say 82. Maybe that's a slip of the tongue. Sometimes when you're on a live stream, it's really easy to forget a date.
Yeah, I know. Especially if it's nothing that you're going to be asked about, right? So anyway, that's Gufon being a dickhead as usual, because he's Mr. Richard, so he's Mr. Dickhead, right? So, and now he's going on about this here, which I think he's got a good point. We'll just play this video quickly and then go to that top 10 list to sum it up and see what you think of this video. I know it's not debunking, but would you say it was UFOs? It's pretty crappy. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, Rob, but here we go. This is from Tim, the DeBrief group. I'll see if I can zoom in on it for you. I don't think it's got any sound. It's got zero sound on it. You know, there's no talking or anything about what the video's about. You know, when you get a Skywatcher's video, you need the sound. You need to see what they're saying. So we can see a lot of bugs there. I think it also could be water moisture, like mist that you get on security cameras. So it looks like it's on long exposure there, right? So it could be mist, it could be bugs. But that's not what we're looking at. Apparently, there's some lights here, which is very hard to see. Close to the ground, that's shooting up beams of lights into the clouds here, which is very hard to see unless you run it through proper filters. So this is why the DeBrief need to use people like myself to enhance the footage and tell them that that's not actually UFO.
I think it's just a rave.
Some people said it overlooks a harbour or something. They reckon it's lots of nightclubs there. You see, these look like they're flashing from. Yeah, but as we saw yesterday, there actually has like balls of light circling around here, which you can't see in this crappy video because it's so badly done. So when these are firing up here,
welcome to the future. We're catching up to the future.
Really loud. So apparently, if you enhance the footage, I know Scott Brando's put it up there if you want to go and have a look, or check our video from yesterday. You can see the spotlights rolling around the clouds, you know, it's circles. So they're actually Canon spotlights on some building to advertise it, movie theatre, a pub, casino, something like that. How this guy could put it up as UFOs is he's creating target practice for himself. So it's in Switzerland, 2015 of all things. You know, I'm pretty sure I've debunked it in the past too. So yeah, I said I can offer my services if they're keen. I always look at stuff and give my honest video analysis opinion. But a lot of people have posted here trashing them, plus Gufon. And of course we've got Scott Brandy here saying, "Hey guys, where's the UFOs? I see sky cannon searchlights." Yeah, so do I. But there's been a few more comments added since then. And of course, look at the upvotes and downvotes. So I had to give that one a downvote because it's misleading. It should say debunked in the front there or deleted completely. So anyway, just a quick look at that one on DeBrief. I'm sure it's going to cause a wee bit of a comment, a Twitter war or something in the next few days probably. So keep out for that one. So here's the quick list. You want to go quickly through that still, or have we heard enough about it? Robert?
Well, Louise, yes, okay, I can understand why he's there.
Okay.
Okay, next
Okay.
one.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You got. What about number 2, Paul?
Where's number 2? It's disappeared. Picture's disappeared. See, it's got an error message.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right.
See,
we know
Tim McMillan.
Mm.
Yeah, Tim McMillan. The problem with Tim McMillan, he's got all these insiders in the intelligence community. Now, at this stage, we don't know if he's being played or not. Remember, that happened before, multiple times. So the jury's out on Tim McMillan. Okay, next one. Chris Mellon, definitely. He's got to be up there. He's had a lot of influence.
Mm-hmm.
I think if there's going to be any further disclosure, I think most of it lies in his He's the real government insider.
I'll post
George
the link
Knapp.
To
George Knapp. I've lost all respect for him after the fiasco with Bob Lazar, to be honest. But yeah, over the years he's been a good journalist, and he's been forthright enough to push the UFO subject forward. But in this day and age, I don't have much respect left for George Knapp. No.
Yeah, he lost his way with Corbell movies.
Definitely.
He should have just got some better editor and made all his interviews through himself and collected all the money himself instead of making $1 million for the other guy. Anyway, just go down. We've got James Fox.
James Fox, yes, certainly. He should be up there.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got down here 2 editors.
Leslie Kane, Ralph Blumenfeld. Yeah, I guess, yeah. But some of the journalism has been a little bit irresponsible. I mean, that one on crash retrievals, they had to amend the article 3 times, didn't they?
Yeah.
And unless something's actually come from TTSA or government source, they won't touch it. If
but I'm very skeptical of newspaper people anyway, because all they're doing is trying to just push the papers.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stories sell papers, don't they? As far as I'm
concerned. That's 6.
Yeah.
Grant Cameron. What do you think of that one?
Yeah. Pass. Jeez, man.
Gufon reckons number one researcher. No way.
Yeah.
He did do Charlie Red Scar, so we're going to have to get information on that one. It's an old case now in Canada, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a 1975 case. Yeah.
Which would go with Shag Harbor, actually. We'll just move down. Richard Dolan, are you still in favour of him and being number 8?
Well, I mean, all he's done is write books, push the Wilson leak. I don't know. I mean, he's gone quiet as well, hasn't he? I mean, he had this rant about COVID and the new world order in one of his latest videos, and he's basically saying, the big corporations, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. They're introducing this control system now, similar to the Chinese social credit system, and then at the end of it all, you can buy my books on Amazon. Amazon, who has benefited more of all this COVID thing than Amazon?
Yeah, that's right. 1700 billion or something.
It was almost a contradiction in the same sentence for me. No, Dolan, and his UFO cruises.
Yeah.
Nah. No,
I think he's ruffled a few feathers with the left biased UFO crowd out there, and because he's obviously not a anti-Trumper at all, but he tries to be balanced, I guess, but still people hate him. What he's doing, talking about the deep state and all that sort of stuff. I think he's correct, I think, in some way, but he is a wee bit of hypocrite, like you said, because he's using Amazon, who is part of the deep state or the left side of things, and backstabbed a lot of people in the process in politics. Anyway,
that just seems to be the norm in this type of
field, but he is a PhD in politics, so he's probably more credible to speak about politics side of things than anyone in ufology, I suppose. But
well, he spent the last 12 months writing that book, The Alien Agenda, which obviously has to be pure speculation.
Yeah.
So whether that can be counted as a contribution towards UFO research or not, I don't really know.
Okay, so let's move on. Brandon Figure, I don't know if you like him too much.
I don't know what he's doing there at all. He's the new owner of the Skinwalker Ranch, billionaire.
He is funding research. He's funding research into the paranormal and UFO on that location. Whether it yields anything is another question.
Well, if that last series is anything to go by, it was just a big damp squib.
Yeah, apparently they've caught some new footage. I've yet to see it. It's not going to be available until season 2, so we have to see. And this might be another plane or balloons or birds or which have been shown so far. That's why I said if you ain't got the right video analysis people on your team or on the ground boots investigators part of your team like Earl Grey, then you're going to lose your way. But yeah, I've been talking to Brandon. He seems to reply, and he's not sort of up himself at all. So
no,
that's something I never had before as a billionaire replying to me. So that's pretty a good thing. He's seems like a decent enough guy. So let's just move down.
Who's it?
And Sky Hub guys.
Yeah,
so
well, well, Sky Hub. I know. Gufon was going on, but it's not a finished article yet. But that's not the point, is it?
No.
It's still good research, and it's in development. That's the best way to put it. It's still in development, but it's a really good thing, and it's good. You're going to have the finished article one day. So Bob McGuire's another one of these guys who's come from. He had a clearance himself.
Yeah.
He's done some government work. He's another one of these people who's got people on the inside, he claims, and whether you can trust these people or not, I don't know. Now, he's the only person I know that's actually claimed to have seen, well, he's the only person I know who's in the UFO field that's actually claimed to have seen that photograph of the triangle.
Right. Okay, we'll see what develops.
He said he's seen it.
Yeah. We'll see what develops on that situation.
Yeah.
And we've got honourable mentions here at the end here too, I think, still. John Greenwald, I thought he may be in the top 10. Yeah, he should be up in the top 10, really. He should probably replace Dolan. Dolan maybe should be down here. And Gary Nolan and Jacob's Valet. Valet hasn't really done anything new, has he, to the UFO field?
Well, no, he's still working on those meta materials, isn't he? And he's been quite vague about all that.
Yeah. So before I mention, it's probably okay. Who we got? Marco Rubio.
He's the Republican senator that got that bill through the Senate.
Yeah. And Mark Warner, I don't know that name. American
He's
senators.
a senator as well. Yeah,
Right.
He's another one who's taking the UFO subject seriously, I believe.
There's quite a few names here. Luke's.
Yeah, Danny Silver. Yeah, Danny Silver's the one that pushed the hell out of the New York Times app.
Yeah, but what's Erica Luke's done for investigations? Because I haven't really agreed much with what her doing on her show at all.
No, I mean, she keeps pushing the Skinwalker thing and secret weapons testing.
Yeah, Black Ops as aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
Journey Renzenzo. Don't know that name. Doesn't seem to pop up. David Weberly. Not too sure on that name. David Sylvia. Tom Rogan. Brian Bender. So there's a few names there I'm not too sure on. Because I'm not really good at
the journalist who was covering all the TTSA stuff at the beginning, wasn't he? But he seems to have departed from that now. I haven't heard of anything from him for over 12 months at least.
Yeah.
Although he may have been active and I just haven't seen it.
Right. Someone's saying on the side chat, did you know New Zealand, the chicks can be phased out? I thought e-chicks I think it's being replaced by e-chicks, as they call it. Making direct payments, cash deposit are no longer allowed. That doesn't make any sense. How would you transfer money from one bank account to another if they just allow that? So it doesn't make any sense. Apparently to curb crime. Look, BNZ and Westpac and all that, they don't care about criminals. They profit off criminals, right? Whenever my parents have been scammed by them, all they can say is, close down that credit card and get you a new one, and you won't get a refund from the crime, which is pathetic because banks should be able to refund any money. And they should be able to lock their bank account that it was sent to as well, shouldn't they? Just like PayPal seems to do with everybody else, right? They're able to lock accounts. You have to transfer their account transfer from account to account. I'm not too sure what you mean. I tried to get my...
I have to transfer from account to account. I tried to pay my rent by direct cash deposit. Denied.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I know I'm getting some money from account to account through routing numbers, they call it, but it takes 3 to 5 days to show up. And of course, you can get a fee, $10 transfer fee on it. Banks are always making money off you, regardless. They screw you over. We're pretty much finished with that top 10 list. Now we can progress on with any other stuff you want to do now, or carry on with Shag Harbor. You said you wanted to do some other quick news bits, so we can do that if you want.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We've spent an hour and a half on that.
No, hour.
On the top 10 list.
No, hour and 3 minutes I got here.
Oh.
You was a bit late. You was a bit
alright, I know, but still...
I thought last night you'd fallen asleep before I was trying to get hold of you.
No, we had some problems, but...
Okay, there's the next link. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, just get on with Robert stuff.
Yeah, there's no time limit on our shows. Just go until you want to give up,
Yeah, well...
Until we fall asleep, more like.
Yeah, but we haven't fallen asleep yet, so we've got plenty.
You have in the past. You have in the past.
No, that was Men in Black. Get it right.
No, that was you.
I don't remember that.
No, because you won't remember because you were asleep and snoring.
Yeah. Okay, is it loud enough? Fox News clips tend to be a bit low, don't they?
Yeah, before you start it, this is about the bill that passed through the Senate.
And it's pretty loud. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and everyone's shouting now on every UFO group out there. Way, 180 days to disclosure.
Oh, what's happened here?
Oh,
well,
count down on it.
We'll see.
Let's see. Where's the edge of it gone? It keeps moving over this window. Crazy. Yeah. I think it might be too low, but we'll see.
Speaking of conspiracy theories that
just
actually have truth at the bottom of them, the Corona Relief Bill the President signed last month contains a provision that hasn't gotten a lot of attention. It directs the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the Secretary of Defense and the heads of other agencies, to disclose what they know about UFOs within 180 days. So what are they going to tell us? Nick Pope is an expert on this subject. He's former UK Minister of Defense. He's an official of the UK
Robert, how
Ministry of
could
Defense.
you?
He joins us tonight.
How
Nick,
could
thanks
you,
so
Robert?
much for coming on. What do you think we're likely to learn? Will they obey is the first question. Will they actually tell us what they know? And if they do, what will they tell us?
Well, this is going to be a very interesting year for UFOs, that's for sure, Tucker. And yes, they will definitely have to produce this report within 180 days, so we can get this by late June. It has to be unclassified, but can have a classified annex. So the answer, what the public will get, maybe not a lot, but what the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Armed Services Committee will get, hopefully a whole lot more, and hopefully some answers to these questions that we've been asking for months now. What is going on in our airspace? What has the US Navy been encountering? And what is it that has been in these classified briefings that we know some senators have already had?
What do you think they're likely to reveal?
Nothing.
Well, it's interesting because Senator Marco Rubio said he would almost rather this was alien, because if it turns out to be China or Russia, then we're in big trouble, because the sorts of speeds and maneuvers and accelerations that these objects are capable of really is concerning. And I hope that we're going to find out about that. It's interesting, just before Christmas, there were some leaks. Sitting in Office of Naval Intelligence is an organization called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. They're probably the ones drafting this report. Some leaks suggest they have not ruled out the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Yeah, and there may be physical evidence of the existence of these craft, whatever they are. Have you heard that?
Looks like we lost a couple
yes,
of
I've heard
Lucas.
talk of so-called metamaterials, and I think this report really will have to disclose. I mean, what the Intelligence Committee want to know is everything in government is fragmented. They want to know who knows what. They want a single official named and put in charge of all this. And this is going to include FBI, by the way, as well as the military and the intelligence community. We want answers.
Yeah, and I don't want to wait till June. Why don't they do it tomorrow morning and finally declassify the rest of the Warren Commission report while they're at it? And this is just nonsense. And I appreciate your help on this. Hopefully we'll find out very soon. Nick, thank you.
What I find is nonsense on that video there is them putting up plain contrails as UFOs and the lead kite one there as well. With the Nimitz videos, and they shouldn't be included next to those as far as I'm concerned. That's like disinformation right there. Misleading people.
Well, that aircraft was fossil fuel.
Yeah. So, yeah, Robert, what do you want to say on that?
Yeah, well, see, the thing is with this, they could just as easily turn around to say, look, we've found nothing that we can't explain. We recommend that we close this program down. They could easily say that.
Before the time clock finishes.
Well, no. It doesn't have to be in 180 days. That's the maximum. Yeah. They could do it tomorrow or the week after. Yeah. But no, I don't think they'll do that. I think we'll get something out of it. But I think the majority of the information will go to the Senate Intelligence Committee, and only a fraction of that will be released into the public domain. So we'll see. And then
Robert, that could be stuff that's already out there, and all they're going to do is just confirm what's out there.
I don't.
Maybe they're not going to bring anything new up.
Well, that's the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course they're going to bring something new up. But what that's going to be, and it could be something completely negative. They might want to shut this UAP program down. So, you know, I mean, look at Project Blue Book. That wasn't truthful, was it?
Not really.
Look at the Colorado project. The whole intent of that was to shut the UFO program down, which it successfully did. So you don't know, there could be people working behind the scenes to get this all shut down and get out of the public eye. Now I'm a bit more optimistic than that, to be honest. I think something will come from this. But how much we'll know is another thing.
Yep. So where do you want to go next on this?
Yeah. There's a little interview here with Luis Elizondo on John Greenwald's show, The Blackvault. This is one of the whoa. This is just part of it.
So I need the link.
It's quite interesting because, John Greenwald puts Louise in a very awkward spot here.
Let me just grab it. I haven't had a chance to watch any of the Blackvault lately. So behind. Select all, paste. Here we go. Right. It's looking good. Who's this one? Blackvault, yeah. Okay.
One of the few sensitive questions that I talked about in the beginning, and that is the paperwork that came out through FOIA. I went after those documents, as you know. We've talked about this privately, but I went after those documents for those listening and watching that aren't aware, and found the emails that you were sharing back and forth with what is called DOPSR, and that is the arm that essentially will authorize either public use or essentially them declassifying something, or if something's unclassified, clearing it for release, and so on, just to kind of quickly summarize it. Those documents come out, and the form that had already leaked in part had come out, but that was kind of re-verified on an official level. And the way you would describe the videos is what really kind of intrigues me in a way that is a big fat question mark. And that is that you describe the FLIR, the gimbal, and the Go Fast as balloons, drones, and UASs. And what kind of confuses me about that is DOPSR is cleared at the top secret level. So they've got the, JWIC's protocols to send them to, let's say, top secret data, and they review it. They can say, nope, you can't use this whatsoever. But they have those channels. I've heard, but I want to ask from you, because I don't think I've ever asked you this part before. I've only heard from others through, third-hand info, that you felt that you couldn't inform them properly. But again, I want to ask you this. Why were the videos described in that way, if they would be cleared at the top secret level?
Sure. So if you look at the way DOPSR works, you're actually supposed to do the request at the unclassified level. So there's several DoD instructions and instructions and manuals, and then there's some brochures on how you're supposed to request something for publication. I mean, that can be disseminated out, and that is through an unclassified document 1910. And when you ask DOPSR, they say, please send it to us unclassified level. So we had just gotten over this awful situation with WikiLeaks, where we knew foreign adversaries were hacking our systems. That's a fact. That's not conjecture, and the U.S. government acknowledged that. And then, of course, you had insider threats, where you had look, I don't want to get political here, but there's whether you're for or against, but folks like Private Manning that took some very sensitive information and released it in an unauthorized manner. So because we were dealing with something that was so sensitive, and there was so few people that were read onto the program, and I couldn't even brief my boss at the time about this program, I couldn't very well brief DOPSR, who's 2 and 3 degrees removed from my own chain of command, and mention the word UFO. So the UAS we had coined for unidentified aerial systems. Some say unmanned aerial systems, but literally a UAS is an unmanned or system that's not manned by a human being. So that's actually a legitimate term that we could use without saying UFO or UAP, knowing that the OCA, the original classification authority, who Dobson would have to go back to anyways,
right,
to get the approval, was read onto the program and knew exactly what this was about. So you know, a lot of people say, well, was that disingenuous? We were trying to mislead. No. Everybody knew what we were talking about, but it was a way that we could protect this from having some sort of what we call an inadvertent disclosure. This information getting out to somebody who wasn't read on, and all of a sudden now the whole department is aware of what's going on. So that's how that, if you will, that process occurred.
Okay, so one of the other things on the same form was internally, you only intended this for internal government use only, not intended.
Correct. Initially, that's what we wanted to create an internal enclave, unclassified. So, you know, the public we put industry partners because that's broad enough where if you're working with the United States government in any type of capacity, you could be labeled as a type of industry partner. So whether you're local law enforcement or your FAA or you're one of the services or, you know, whoever, if you're working in some sort of kind of official capacity, we wanted to give people who had certain expertise, open the aperture so we could get more scientists, more people to look at this data and help us try to figure it out.
And that was what you internally called the community of interest, right? Or COI,
yeah.
which
COI,
is,
yes.
Yeah, I've always, once those emails kind of revealed themselves through FOIA, I was always intrigued by that because that sounds like, wow, why didn't they do this prior? So, you know, as an outsider,
exactly.
Yeah, one would think.
Right.
So that, and by the way, I've gone after, I think I may have told you privately, but trying to find more information, if any's there, that they take that idea, because from what I've seen, when you look at these types
there's
of
a lot more info, John.
Well,
keep plugging away.
That's
You're doing great.
That's what I'm going for. So, but very admirable intention there. But again, I just wanted to ask, according to the DoD anyway, that those videos had to adhere to what was on that, what they call the DD Form 1910, which we didn't label it yet. But the DD Form 1910 was, again, for that private U.S. government use only. And when Christopher Mellon had come out recently, he had said that he supplied those videos to the New York Times. Then in the James Fox's great documentary getting rave reviews around the world. James, I've known for a very long time. So quick shout out to him. Make sure you watch his new documentary called The
Phenomenon. He did a fantastic job. He really did.
Yeah, he's a great human being. I know how much blood, sweat, and tears went into that just from knowing him personally. So my kudos to him. But in that, Christopher Mellon came out and said somebody, didn't name them, but somebody bent the rules. That was what his wording was, which I want to juxtapose that with how we were shown the videos from To the Stars Academy. I don't expect you to speak for To the Stars. I'm not asking you to, but I do want to ask about what they called the chain of custody, because that's another one of those disconnects where paperwork says internal use only, cleared for that. Then we see the videos and they were kind of advertised at, well, not kind of, they were advertised as going through the declassification process through DOD, and they had chain of custody documentation. And that has always confused me, because that, for me anyway, I found the DOD chain of custody forms and stuff like that. It just wouldn't apply. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so,
what is that chain of custody?
You know, I can't speak for Chris Mellon, and quite frankly, I've never asked Chris. I don't want to know. You know, there's, I hate to say plausible deniability is sometimes a good thing. But out of respect for Chris, I've never asked him this source, and I don't really plan to be honest with you. That's between Chris and whoever he talked to. You know, how TTSA wound up putting them forward. I will tell you, if you were to ask me, you know, I probably would have been more hesitant to do that, but you know, it happened. And it happened without me knowing. That really wasn't.
So you had no idea that they were going to release those videos?
Not until the New York Times article. Yeah, that was not. I was not. I was not aware. Yeah.
Were you aware they had them? If I can ask that.
Pushing stores again.
No, actually. Let me think. John, I don't recall. I really don't. I don't think, because I remember being very surprised because the intent originally was for a community of interest and unclassified, but for official use only, if you will, community of interest. And I wasn't the one who provided them, so I really don't know what TTSA was thinking. You probably want to talk to them. As you know, I'm no longer publicly affiliated with TTSA. They're great people. Tom's a great guy. We still talk. But I can't speak for TTSA.
I got you. No, I understand that and respect that.
Here we go.
Yeah. You could see he was stuck between a rock and a hard place with that question, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The whole chain of custody with those videos was, the whole thing was controversial, how they got released. Yeah, okay, so they were declassified, but they were still for internal use only. So someone's obviously bent the rules. And Luis basically is denying any knowledge of how this happened.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe that.
Do you think he put the news out, do you? Do you think he put the news out about him?
No, it was actually TTSA that released the documents. Chris Mellon got together with somebody on the inside whose name he won't reveal for obvious reasons, because he's still employed there, I presume. So I don't know, but that was the first time that I've actually seen him stuck for an answer, because normally in his interviews he gets it all his own way.
He's free flowing with his answers, isn't he?
Yeah, but not then. He
stopped.
He didn't know where to go. He didn't know quite what to say. And this interview was totally unscripted. He had no idea what questions were coming his way, but I think he knew it was going to be tough. But yeah, I mean, is it that important? No, maybe not. Maybe it's picking at the end of the day, because the videos are out now anyway. But I mean, it was quite obvious they were never meant to see the light of day, because it took 2.5 years for the Pentagon to admit they did actually belong to them. And yes, we do not know what they are. That took a long time, didn't it? It was the Navy that said it first. They said, yeah. We were in possession of them. They're our videos. And then it took the Pentagon another 6 months to catch up. And eventually they had no choice but to come clean. But so you can see that strings are being pulled.
Yeah, once the news is out, it's too late, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but they still tried to hang on for a long time after, even once it came out.
Deny.
Yeah. As long as they could, yeah.
Where to next?
Next topic.
Shag Harbor.
Nova Scotia. Shag Harbor. Yep. Okay, let's have a look.
That must be close to the Oak Island thing, is it?
Right then.
Yeah, we seem to have 3 and 2 people keep coming back and then disappearing again. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Right.
Okay.
Probably the first and last time you'll see me use Wikipedia on a UFO subject, but this actually gives an overview. There's a couple of points here that I want.
All right. Someone wants to know our top 10 UFO videos for 2020. Well, since 99% of them are not UFOs, it's a bit hard to give a list.
I've seen a good UFO video.
No, I can't say I have for a long time.
I've seen a good UFO.
Yeah, you didn't record yours though.
No, I know. Only with my eyes.
2020? What videos come out in 2020?
I don't think there's anything that's
good at the moment. Yeah.
I've seen some interesting ones, but nothing conclusive.
Hmm.
I even went to BitChute to look. Yeah, Paul's got a lot of videos on BitChute as well. They're all uploaded on the BitChute.
Yeah, it's really hard to get. You can get the top 10 misidentified videos, but real UFO videos. Personally, I don't think there is one out there really. The closest I could say is still Mojo's one. It's still 50-50 as well. Because the way he mishandled researchers coming in to document that totally changed. Yeah. There's a reason why I can't give him 100% for it, but it looks very credible. Hoax if it's done pretty damn good.
I think some of the real ones out there are things that are not recorded because people haven't got a chance to record them, and they've only seen them with their eyes.
Oh, they're just too stunned.
Yeah,
well, that's right.
I was completely stunned when I saw that one out there, but then again, I was screaming for the Karen to come out to bring the phone or camera or something.
Yeah,
it's just near me.
No, I don't think. No, well, I don't know if you know Dave Scott's. Is it Dave Scott? No, not Dave Scott. Scott Brown. Sorry, his group in the field. I've seen some interesting videos on there that weren't explained, but they're basically lights in the sky type videos. You know, you can't see any structured shape. Most of them at night time.
But don't take any notice of the third phase.
Oh no!
Who said that?
Any Gufon stuff. I'm just telling them, don't take any notice of third phase or Gufon. Because it's just total and utter rubbish.
So our Saturdays are generally looking at UFO videos. So we go over pretty much all the current ones. If you've been following Saturdays, and Sundays is UFO cases with Robert. So, but we have tried to get various guests on, and maybe even create some new slots for other people to come on to have a weekly show. But yeah, we are the most hated UFO channel out there by debunkers as well as frauds. So what can you do? You know, we only speak the truth here. We just give you our opinions on our analysis, and it's up to you whether you disagree or not. But as far as I can tell, we haven't ever been wrong. We always come up. If we get more information that changes our opinion, we'll bring it up on the following weekend.
Yeah. Or if we've gone wrong, we'll admit it.
Oh, shit. Hang on. Yep. Give me one. What? Right, we need to read this article out, do we? Or Robert?
Nah, you can just skim through this, you know, if you like. So there's just
you want me to read it out?
No. Just scroll down and I'll look at the pieces.
Okay.
Well. Try and go down slowly if you can, so I can.
Sorry, I was being interrupted before.
Mom, wicked era.
Yeah. Apparently, what I wanted is not in the freezer anymore because a certain person in the house didn't put it on the shopping list to replace it. Anyway.
Whoa, Paul. There we go. Thank you. So, oh Jesus.
What now?
You keep moving the thing when I'm about to read, Paul.
Okay, where do you want to go?
Go down a bit, please.
Over?
Well, yeah. That's
wants to go to the right end.
There we go. So you can see now that there was an incident, a pre-incident to this, the Air Canada Flight 305. In his report, the captain reported an object tracking along on a parallel course a few miles away. He described it as a brilliantly lit rectangular object with a string of smaller lights trailing the object. At 17:19, the pilots noticed a sizable silent explosion near the large object. 2 minutes later, a second explosion occurred, which faded to a blue cloud around the object. So it wasn't isolated, that's what I'm saying. And then the yellow object, Daryl Dory, his sister Annette, and his mother were sitting on the front porch. In Mahoney Bay, when they noticed the large object manoeuvring above the southwestern horizon. The next day, Dad wrote a letter to the Royal Canadian Air Force, Greenwood Base Command, asking what was flying over the water that evening, as he had never seen anything like it. Okay, go down a bit. Okay, MV Nickerson. While standing at the wheelhouse of his vessel, can you move the cursor? That's Captain Leo Howard, No Mercy. Mersey was looking at 4 blips on the deck radar that was stationary. When he looked up about 28 kilometers from the vessel's window, he could see the 4 bright objects situated in a roughly triangular formation. The entire crew, or nearly 20 fishermen, stood on deck and watched the object in the northeastern sky. Mersey radioed the Rescue Coordination Centre and the harbour master in Halifax, asking for an explanation, and filed a report with Lunenburg, Royal Canadian Mountain Police, that'll be, outlining the sighting when they arrived. And then there's another something else here, is there? Halifax Harbour. Yeah, the Chronicle, Herald, and also radio stations reported a glowing object that had been seen by many people who had called their newsroom. They reported witnessing strange glowing objects flying around Halifax at around 10 p.m. So that was all leading up to the main event at Shag Harbor. So in a way, it's multiple events and multiple witnesses, isn't it? So we can skip this and then move on to the next tab. And we can get on to the main event then. Where are we now? Is that Wikipedia? Here we are.
And once you start reading, I might have to take off a wee bit, a couple of minutes. Hasn't popped up. I know it has. Okay, here we go.
This is all the same case.
It's all the same case. Yeah, my only point with the last article was there was quite a bit of stuff leading up to the main incident.
Right, it's only, I'm only asking because I was doing the topic shit. It's all right.
Yeah, of course.
Where do you want to start from on this summary?
Top.
Or?
Yeah, if you like. Summary's fine.
Let's see where it reads from.
Shag Harbor. Source, MUFON Canada original source.
I'll be back in a minute.
Summary. The Shag Harbor UFO crash/retrieval may well prove to be the most important UFO case ever to come out of Canada. It has already been compared to the Roswell incident, though it has one important element that Roswell does not have documentation. The Shag Harbor UFO crash/retrieval may well prove to be the most important UFO case ever to come out of Canada. It has already been compared to the Roswell incident, though it has one important element that Roswell does not have documentation. Shag Harbor has a paper trail a mile wide, from various government and military agencies, as well as film of the actual retrieval operation, which was shown right across the country on the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Evening News. After the event, and after the government's claims that nothing of any import occurred, it faded away completely. Faded, only to be resuscitated 26 years later by the indefatigable Christopher Styles, a researcher from Halifax and MUFON's assistant director for Nova Scotia. Chris' work on this case is nothing short of phenomenal, and all the more exemplary considering this was his first formal investigation. On the night of October 4, 1967, shortly after 11 p.m., a UFO some 60 feet in diameter was seen to hover over the water near the tiny fishing village of Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia. The UFO, which displayed 4 bright lights that flashed in sequence, tilted to a 45-degree angle and descended rapidly towards the water's surface. Upon impact, there was a bright flash and an explosive roar. Concerned witnesses began calling the nearby Barrington Passage RCMP detachment. None of those witnesses mentioned anything about a UFO. Most believed that a large aircraft had ditched into the harbor and that there might be survivors. Eventually, 3 RCMP officers arrived at the shore near the impact site.
Okay, I'm back.
Corporal V. Wierbicki and Constable Ron O'Brien, dispatched from the Barrington Passage detachment, were approaching from east of the site.
Okay.
Constable Ron Pond, who was on highway patrol on Highway Number 3, was heading towards Shag Harbor from a position west of the impact site, and his position allowed him to view the UFO while it was still in flight. The unusual lighting configuration and flight characteristics tipped CST Pond off to the unusual nature of the object long before he heard from Corporal Wierbicki, who received his information through the initial complaints to the detachment.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, so it was saying there that one thing this case has that Roswell doesn't is the embarrassment of documentation that we had on it, both the military and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. There was newspaper articles everywhere. The actual attempted recovery of the object was seen on live television. The Canadian Broadcasting Network, or whatever it was called. But there's one thing there. There was some documentation on Roswell. There was the FBI file that confirmed that the wreckage did go to Wright-Patterson Air Force base, which the Air Force denied at the time. So that wasn't quite right. But anyway, yeah. So carry on from there, please, Paul.
Detachment. When all 3 officers met at the impact site, they found that the UFO was still floating on the water about a half-mile from shore. It was glowing a pale yellow and was leaving a trail of dense yellow foam as it drifted in the ebb tide. Neither the Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax nor the nearby NORAD radar facility at Bacaro, Nova Scotia, had any knowledge of missing aircraft, either civilian or military. CST Pond reported that the object had changed during its descent to the water's surface, i.e., it changed shape, and that it appeared to be no known object. Later, other local witnesses described much the same details as those of CST Pond. Also, a Coast Guard lifeboat from nearby Clark's Harbor and several local fishing boats were summoned to investigate, but the UFO had submerged before they reached the site. The sulfurous-smelling yellow foam continued to well to the surface from the point where the UFO went down, and a 120 by 300-foot slick developed. Search efforts continued until 3 a.m., and then resumed at first light the next day. Everybody involved was convinced that something real and unidentified had gone into the
See, this foam was coming from underneath the water. 120 by 300 foot slick developed. That's one big Chinese lantern, that, Paul.
But is it fake information here?
No, that's not.
It's saying it's changed shape as well. I mean, that sounds like something out the Flight of the Navigator again.
No, I don't know. There's been many cases where UFOs appear to have been changing shape.
Yeah. But also balloons change shape, of course, as well. Chinese lanterns, maybe, if it's on fire. But yeah, sulfur smell for oil and lanterns, I don't think so. Although I haven't had one and I haven't played around with one, I don't know what kind of smell it gives off. I would have thought it was more kerosene.
But what would cause all the foam?
Well, you know, sea has natural foam anyway. If you've ever lived near the coast,
yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah. Come on, these are coast guards and fishermen. They know damn well what's natural and what's not, Paul. It'd be quite insulting to them.
And they know all them areas as well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know modern fuels have that sort of sulfur smell to it now too, as well. In the past, they used lead in petrol to lubricate the engine seals, right? And now they replaced it with some chemicals which are sulfury smell, and they have like a catalytic converter, whatever it's called. So yeah, you can
catalytic.
you get the whiff of that sulfur smell sometimes from these small cars that you can buy now. But yeah, I'm not too sure on the Chinese lantern explanation, but maybe it's something that someone was made up themselves, a big balloon that sort of changed shape, and maybe it's possible. Maybe it's a huge Chinese lantern.
But Paul, the explosion.
Yeah, well, if it's an experimental balloon that someone was mucking around with, right, they're not going to own up to it because it caused so much call out and cost.
This doesn't sound like a balloon to me.
No, it's a hell of a balloon. It's not a balloon at all.
No, it don't sound like a balloon.
Anyway, we'll just carry on. And,
Water. The next morning, a preliminary report was sent to Canadian Forces headquarters in Ottawa. After communicating with NORAD, Maritime Command was asked to conduct an underwater search ASAP for the object responsible for the concern in Shag Harbor. 7 Navy divers from the HMCS Granby searched throughout the daylight hours until sundown of October 8, 1967. On Monday, October 9, 1967, Maritime Command cancelled the search effort, claiming nil results. Outside of the local area, media attention quickly faded. The Shag Harbor crash/retrieval became case number 34 in the infamous Condon Committee report, which would serve as Project Blue Book's swan song. The case was brought to Dr. Condon's limited attention by the late Jim Lorenzen of the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, APRO. Dr. Levine, the investigator assigned to the case, allocated the grand total of 2 long-distance phone calls to this investigation. One call was to the watch officer at Maritime Command, and the other was to an RCMP spokesperson. Dr. Levine was assured that there was nothing to the case, and that further investigation was futile. Thus, interest in the Shag Harbor case withered away, and the case remained dormant until the spring of 1993.
Paul, pause, please.
Chris Styles,
so it was brought to the attention of the Condon Committee. I didn't know that until recently. They ran from 67 to 69 and effectively shut down Project Blue Book. So it seems they took absolutely no notice of it again. That's about, limited attention. Yeah, that's about right, isn't it? So this came 2 years before the closure of Blue Book, and I don't think it was ever included in their files, to my knowledge. Yeah, and run it on, please.
Styles, inspired by the work of the late Leonard Stringfield and Stanton Friedman, felt the time was right to reopen an investigation of Shag Harbor. With a modest grant from the Fund for UFO Research and much kind advice from veteran researchers Don Berliner and Stanton Friedman, Styles began to sift through the large legacy of documents and witness testimony that the Shag Harbor crash generated. Since the spring of 1993, here in point form is a list of key points that have become apparent as a result of the research effort. Of the witnesses who called the Barrington Passage RCMP detachment, not one said anything whatsoever about a UFO. It was the authorities, i.e., RCMP, RCN, RCAF, NORAD, and Coast Guard that first referred to the possibility of a UFO being the object responsible for the Shag Harbor crash. It is also especially interesting to note that in the intervening years, many persons in authority warned Styles that this particular witness was a drinker. However, not one of these people gave testimony that was in any way exaggerated, fanciful, suspicious, or contradictory to other testimony in any way. All the truly astounding observations and statements came from the professionals involved in the search.
Paul?
Yeah, what's going on here?
What's up?
Triangle Paul. It's all gone
I'm
down.
here. It's all gone down.
All the sound went off. Then it came back on, and then it went off again, come back on. And Robert's gone off.
No, Robert's here.
Yeah, his picture went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he logged out and come back in because he's getting problems, I guess.
No, I never, Paul. I was just cut off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just saw everything just went.
It was all right at my end. I just thought Robert was resetting himself.
No, the sound on the channel on all this went off as well.
Yeah.
So you didn't hear the readout?
We've heard some of it. We just didn't hear it a few minutes ago.
So where do you want me to go from again?
No, just carry on for now, I think.
Okay.
Search effort, the military brass, or the witnesses to the peripheral related sightings that are part of the October 4th, 1967 milieu. A vast amount of documentation, including most of the military orders and communications between the military bases and CFHQ, was unclassified and readily available to the public in Canada's National Archives file RG77. The composite picture that is painted is one of an extremely serious search effort for a UFO with the belief that it may in fact have been a vehicle of extraterrestrial origin. This was a serious consideration right up through the cancellation of the Maritime Command search effort and afterwards. Within the Canadian military, concerns about Shag Harbor and other high-profile cases such as Falcon Lake, Manitoba, Stephen Michalak, caused the topic of UFO responsibilities to be brought to the attention of then Defence Minister Leo Cadieux. After lengthy consultation with Canada's scientific advisor, the Chief of Defence Staff Dr. H. Sheffer, Brigadier Ross, and staff at the RCAF's Air Desk, Canada's Blue Book equivalent, UFO responsibilities were transferred to Canada's National Research Council. A document, sent to the chairman for the Advisory Committee on Scientific and Industrial Research, and signed by the Defence Minister, was released to Styles by Department of National Defence's, DND, Directorate of History. It states Canada's belief in the possibility that UFOs exhibit advanced technology, which could contribute to scientific or technical research. The night of the Shag Harbor crash, there were several sightings over eastern Canada that were every bit as solid and significant. Some of these were hidden in X-File reports, were unavailable, or were simply forgotten. The sighting of 4 UFOs by the crew of the MV Nickerson, a dragger with 18 men fishing off Sambro, Nova Scotia, had solid returns on its DECA radar for over 2 hours. This was from 2 hours till 1/2 hour before Shag Harbor began. Sightings all down the Nova Scotia coast in the hours just before Shag Harbor roused both 12-year-old Daryl Dory and Shelburne insurance salesman R. Grandy Irwin to file official reports before Shag Harbor ever hit the headlines. Air Canada Flight 305 of October 4, 1967, while westbound on V300, between Sherbrooke and St. Jean, encountered UFO activity that caused the pilot and co-pilot to file official reports in the hours just before the Shag Harbor crash.
There's a hell of a lot going on here, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just this one incident where something's
Yeah.
damned into the sea and there's been a recovery and blah blah blah. It's quite a complex, multi-layered case.
Just massive incidents everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And they're not all in the same time frame, are they?
No.
Well, they are, but I don't know. It seems like a mini flap, which ended in this this major incident that everybody talks about today. It's a hard one to get your head round.
Do you think they're trying to get to this crashed UFO?
Sorry?
Do you think they're trying to get to this crashed UFO?
Oh, well, we'll get to that later. Oh, God, yeah, that's when the story gets really a bit woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, roll it on, Paul.
The rescue mission or something, I think.
Yeah, what, by the aliens.
Yeah, yeah.
Crash. Newspaper clippings published after the search effort was officially terminated show that in some military circles the interest in Shag Harbor and related sightings from that area and time period still ran high. An extremely interesting story dated November 2nd, 1967, almost a month after the Shag Harbor incident ran in all the Southwest Nova Scotia weekly papers. It bore the title Military Wants UFOs Reported. It was credited to a Major Victor Eldridge. Styles discovered that the Major wore many hats. Besides serving as a town councillor in the community of Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and doing military columns for the Southwest Nova Scotia weeklies, Victor Eldridge also served throughout the entire Shag Harbor incident as Chief Administrative Officer for CFS Barrington at nearby Bacaro, Nova Scotia. This base was a key staging area for the Shag Harbor search effort and was a NORAD radar facility as part of the Pine Tree Line. Unlike practically everyone else, the RCMP officers and RCAF and Navy personnel who have talked both on and off the record, Styles discovered that the Major had absolutely no memory of the event or of any other UFO incident involving the base. And neither did his CO. This stance became even more suspect when a RCMP UFO report dating from November 1970 mentions that the CO from CFS Barrington, one Colonel Rushton, called the Barrington Passage Detachment to request the completed copy of the RCMP UFO report on what would later be known as the Smith brothers' sighting of Shag Harbor. Colonel Calvin Rushton also
I'm not too sure where he's gone. Do we keep on going?
Robert's just popped off for 2 minutes. Give it back in a minute.
I was just catching up on the side chats here. Did I miss something? Someone's asking something here. Why won't it scroll up for me? It won't scroll up.
Yeah. Home Love, she said, you guys heard of the light plane versus UFO in Mexico crash.
Oh, we already covered that case.
The USA was tracking, that's what they're asking for. And Roberts mentioned something down the bottom here, but that's quite possibly. I was trying to recall the title of the article.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what live stream it was on. Might have to try search. I don't think we've got any chapters on it though, which makes it a bit harder to search. It might have general topics, but you might be able to find it. But we have covered that before. Yep. Now Robert's back. We'll just carry on.
Yeah.
Rushton also requested a list of civilian witnesses from CST, Ralph Keeping. Though having no memory of Shag Harbor or the subsequent search effort, Major Eldridge, in a May 1, 1993 telephone interview with Chris Styles, assured him that there was not enough to it to warrant any journalistic treatment. A strong opinion indeed from a man who did not know what he was being asked about just seconds before. It is also an opinion not shared by the military witness, Corporal Timothy Nielsen, who experienced the same close encounter and missing time episode as the Smith brothers of Shag Harbor. The role played by Father Michael Burke Gaffney in the Shag Harbor crash and other UFO cases was largely unknown before Styles' investigation. This former and now deceased Jesuit priest was an astronomer and cornerstone at St. Mary's University in Halifax. What was less known and would have made UFO debunker Donald Menzel proud was that Father Gaffney also held a position with Canada's NRC as a UFO investigator and government contact person. Requests from Ottawa can be found in Canada's RG-77 file calling for the priest to gather physical samples from UFO trace cases and close encounters to send to NRC headquarters for detailed analysis. Despite this high level of involvement, the father was often quoted in the press apropos his being sick to death about UFOs. In October 18, 1967 interview in the Halifax Chronicle-Herald, Father Gaffney claimed to have no interest in the phenomenon, and then states that speculation on the topic did no good. This statement would appear to be somewhat at odds with the files, in fact genuine RCMP X-files, which Styles found among the personal papers of the late astronomer. Two of those X-files are replies to Father Gaffney from the superintendent of the Nova Scotia RCMP, assuring the father that he would receive UFO reports from southwest Nova Scotia as quickly as was reasonably possible. In fact, personal notes and archives from this period of October 1967 show that he took notes on the details of UFO sightings given to him over the telephone, even before they could be mailed or telexed. Time seemed to be an important concern for this scientist who had no interest in the UFO phenomenon. The story. Perhaps the most exciting element of Styles' investigation is the story of an attempted recovery operation at a point some 25 miles up the Nova Scotia coast from the impact site, near the community of Shelburne. At this point in the investigation, this story is only just that, a story. However, though hard documentation is so far lacking to confirm the details, there are documents that support the belief that there was in fact a second search effort other than the one confirmed at Shag Harbor. Also, some of the military personnel in secondary roles have gone on the record regarding their roles, their instructions and orders, and their second-hand knowledge of this other naval operation off Government Point. Men who were directly involved have told their stories, but have requested anonymity due to the usual and familiar concerns about family and pensions. The story, unlike other crash/retrieval scenarios, has what we might call a happy ending. After ships sat over the submerged UFO for a week, watching it being repaired by yet another craft, the flotilla is ordered to show challenge to a Soviet submarine that decided to violate the then 12-mile international limit and attempt to make contact with the underwater UFO. As this confrontation unfolds, both UFOs leave the area underwater and move toward the Gulf of Maine, where they break the surface and fly away. This departure gives rise to a second major sighting on October 11, 1967 of two UFOs sighted in that area by multiple witnesses from Shag Harbor to Yarmouth. As a wrap-up to this Shag Harbor report, a direct quote from Chris Styles himself would be fitting. Chris hopes to avoid comparisons to other UFO crashes and their respective investigations and legends. It would be tragic to get into a "my UFO crash is better than your UFO crash" argument. Crash scenarios, like every other aspect of the UFO phenomenon, offer the promise of a greater understanding of UFOs wherever they occur. We should be ready for anything, though. Yeats may have been more correct than he knew when he was heard to say that knowledge increases unreality. We should be ready to have our belief systems challenged. The Shag Harbor crash/retrieval has been featured on TV sightings, Strange Universe and others, and has been the focus of many radio programs and newspaper articles as well. Chris Styles, along with Don Ledger, are co-authors of the upcoming book Dark Object, based on the Shag Harbor investigation, which is due out this fall, 1997. The Shag Harbor investigation continues to unfold. It is imperative that anyone with any relevant information on the Shag Harbor incident, or related cases, should come forward and share their knowledge. Relatively speaking, the Shag Harbor case is a fairly recent one. Many of the original witnesses to the event are still alive, and for the most part, still kicking, and have been interviewed. However, the investigation is reaching a critical point. There are still a few missing pieces to the puzzle. And we know that there are people out there with valuable information that we do not have. This information was gleaned from the MUFON Canada Connection. Article ID 179.
Yeah, apparently this investigation is It's still kind of ongoing. So I don't know whether we'll glean anything new in the future.
They seem to keep putting out videos and documentaries on it, don't they? There's meant to be a new one coming out this year, I thought, on Shag Harbor.
Yeah, I don't know, but I got the book Dark Object. It was fairly cheap because it's only like you'd call it more pamphlet than a book. It's about 100. I'm sure it's 102 pages. Because that kind of stuck in my head. Because I remember being a little bit disappointed when I got it, and I was thinking, "Oh my God!" I went through that in an afternoon. But I mean, at least it wasn't padded out into 250 pages. It was just give me the facts, and that's exactly what it does.
It's mind-numbing when you have to go through that much pages, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't bother me as long as it's all good information. But when it's padded out, that's what I don't like. I don't like the reader's time being wasted. Yeah, it was the Kill Me incident, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right, 1974. Yeah. Okay. Move on to the next website then, and I don't want you to read all this.
Yeah, I just meant to post a link to Live 199 on the side.
I think it's that video. That's the one that's come up with.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it is the right one. You guys will know better.
I think I was talking about it's possible that it was a portal where the UFOs entered and then popped out again. If that's the case I'm thinking of. Of course, we've covered so many cases now. It's never ending. We've got the next link to come.
Yeah, but another thing is I don't know why Shag Harbor is referred to as a UFO crash. I don't see it that way at all. Okay, it plunged into the water. I mean, there was no debris. There's no bodies. So to me, it wasn't a crash. And we know full well, if you follow UFO law, that these things operate in the water just as efficiently as they do in the skies. I don't see it as a crash.
We just cut out.
Also, it's a good way to hide, isn't it? So
yeah,
yeah, not floating on top of the water though.
Well, it didn't for long.
So where do we begin here? Full report, I guess.
Yeah. Get that up. If you can scroll down and down, please, but not too quickly.
No, there's not much.
Yeah, you've gone past it. You need to go slow, Paul, so I can tell you where to.
He's always in a hurry.
I know.
He wants things like yesterday all the while. I know that.
Yeah, she's gone way too far up again now.
But it's got a full report here.
Slow down. Now, nice and slow.
That's what my missus says.
So, Charles, stop it.
Okay, a bit more.
This is not a Gufon radio show.
Oh.
A bit more.
Okay. Okay. Go from after about 5 minutes. Read it to the end. There we go.
Oh, we'll just go to there. See what happens.
Yeah, that's fine.
After about 5 minutes, the object started to sink beneath the icy North Atlantic waves. A few of the eyewitnesses reported hearing a whooshing noise. While the RCMP had already been in communication with the Canadian Coast Guard and Cutter 101 was on the way, 2 of the RCMP officers and a few local fishermen hurriedly launched their boats to speed to the rescue of any survivors. As the small boats and Cutter 101 reached the location, the lights were no longer visible, but they found themselves sailing through a thick yellow foam that indicated that something had submerged. The fishermen report that the foam was not sea foam, and looked like nothing they had ever seen. In fact, most were unnerved by the fact that they had to sail through it to look for survivors. After several hours of searching, nothing was found, and the search was called off at approximately 3 a.m. Both the NORAD and the Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax had been contacted by the RCMP and found that there had been no reports that evening of missing aircraft, either civilian or military. On October 5th, the following day, the Rescue Coordination Center filed a report with the Canadian Forces headquarters in Ottawa. This report stated that something had crashed into the water in Shag Harbor, but the object was of unknown origin. The Canadian Forces headquarters dispatched the HMCS Granby to Shag Harbor crash site, and using advanced detection equipment and specially trained divers from the Navy and the RCMP, the Canadian military systematically searched the sea floor for several days and found nothing. Here in 1967, the mystery ended with no physical evidence ever recovered and no additional leads. For a few years the story kicked around in the local papers. From time to time various theories and intriguing rumors emerged about Russian spacecraft or Russian submarines and an American follow-up investigation. Then the story simply faded into obscurity. That is, until 1993, when the Shag Harbor incident once again was brought to the attention of the public. This was due to the dedicated investigative efforts of two men who are *MUFON investigators. Chris Styles, assisted by Doug Ledger, using public records such as newspaper clippings and police reports, were able to track down and interview many of the eyewitnesses and individuals involved in the Shag Harbor sighting, the rescue attempt, and in the subsequent investigation. Through their work, some extremely compelling clues and amazing new insights were uncovered. In interviews with divers and crew members from the HMCS Granby, they discovered some startling information. The object that dove into the waters off of Shag Harbor had been tracked, and it had actually traveled underwater for a distance of about 25 miles to a place called Government Point. In the 1960s, the U.S. had maintained a small, but technically advanced military base at Government Point, managing a magnetic anomaly detection system, MAD-GRID, for the purpose of detecting and tracking submarines in the North Atlantic using.
Yeah, also they got undersea microphones, we found out, because they could track whale population movement, right? And it was only revealed about 10 years ago, I think it was. And all the natural people, the scientists, wanted access to the information so they could see where all the whale populations was and whether it was growing, all that sort of stuff. But secretly, there's microphones in the sea everywhere, listening for engines noise, so they can track every boat in the sea.
Course. Yeah, well, enemy submarines, etc.
As well. As well, yeah. That makes total sense that they could track the object underwater there, and they would have information there.
And the facility does exist, Government Point. There's no question it exists.
Mm.
But this is where the story takes a real turn for the Yuki and the spooky. It starts to get proper woo after this. So it's quite sober until this point. But now it starts. And the trouble is, all the witnesses that came forward, the military witnesses from Government Point and the divers, none of them have come forward publicly. They've all remained anonymous. So
I think there may have been multiple. With all those sightings, it sounds like there was multiple UFOs that night, and maybe something went on. In fact, it may have been. It may have been like Roswell, where two collided, even, and one went into the sea and carried on. So who knows? I think when you got multiple. Yeah, it could have been multiple things, and it could have also been a cover-up with launching a Chinese lantern as well, like they did with Phoenix.
I don't think
Phoenix
Chinese
Lights.
got anything.
Well, they may have launched. They may have launched something that didn't try to misdirect the search, right? Maybe a balloon with some oil on it, so they thought it crashed into the sea while they're trying to distract them from another location. But who knows? You've always got to think outside the box on these investigations, and always remember that it doesn't have to be one object; it could be multiple events that happened. They may even shot it down. Who knows? With a missile, you just don't know.
I can just imagine the military being there thinking, "Oh no, look at all these UFO events. How the hell are we going to cover this one up?" I know. I have a cunning plan.
Shoot one down. Yeah.
Let's launch a Chinese lantern. That'll cover it up. That's silly. Me stupid. No Chinese lanterns there.
Or rocket with a big bang.
Well, there actually there was, according to a researcher, a week before in a newspaper clipping, there was multiple sightings of lights in the sky, which was linked to Chinese lanterns illegally launched in Canada because it's actually banned or something there. Because of forest
maybe
fires.
There was Chinese lantern in there somewhere, but I don't think this has got much to do with this case at all.
I don't know. You always got to keep the multiple events in your head and cover up.
Well, the thing is that you've got like the Phoenix Lights, where the sightings began at 8:10, and the military was starting to panic, thinking, and they launched the flares at 10 o'clock, didn't they? Which confused matters, muddied the waters. But anyway, we should carry on.
Using. The U.S. military had most definitely detected the object on its sensitive tracking equipment. Naval vessels were dispatched and positioned over the unidentified object, where it had stopped. After 3 days of no movement, and not knowing exactly what it was, the military was planning to initiate an investigative salvage operation. As the Navy waited and planned, the detection equipment picked up another object moving in, and to the amazement of all those involved, joined the first object on the ocean floor. The speculation at the time was that the second UFO, I guess officially now an underwater flying object, was there to render aid to the first object. Not fully comprehending what they were dealing with, the Navy decided it was best to stand by and observe. For nearly a week the Navy vessels held their position over the UFOs. The detection base, however, located a Russian submarine that had entered Canadian waters to the north, so several of the vessels had to be pulled off target to sail north to investigate. Under the cover of this new activity on the surface, both UFOs made their move, accelerating underwater toward the Gulf of Maine. The remaining Navy vessels pursued them toward the United States, but the objects continued to distance themselves from their trackers. To the astonishment of the pursuers, both of the objects broke to the surface and shot skyward to vanish within seconds. According to the researchers, while these observations were well corroborated by many credible eyewitnesses, these accounts were given off the record by military, ex-military, and civilian personnel who fear harassment, ridicule, or loss of pension. So as the saying goes, only the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Clearly, a series of very extraordinary, and still unexplained UFO encounters, involving the navies of two countries and NORAD, occurred at Shag Harbor on October 4, 1967, and in the following week in the deep waters off of the coast of Maine. MUFON is an international non-profit civilian research organization. http://
Okay, got to the end.
Yeah.
What's going on? You're answering the side chat, are you?
Yeah, I'm asking. No, it's okay.
We're doing now, Robert.
Right. We're going to. I'm sure you've picked up who the main investigator was by now. Christopher Styles.
Yep. No, Martin did a piece on it last year.
Yes, here we go.
And they had a new sighting, which looks, which I said was possibly one of those large lead balloons, not a weather balloon, but one of those 40-inch ones that you can get. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm skipping all that and going straight to the case. If you go to exactly 1 hour, Paul, in the video, this is when he actually gets to the nitty-gritty of it.
If you copy with the timestamp, that makes it a lot easier for me too.
Yeah, but 1 hour is pretty easy. And sometimes that timestamp doesn't get you exactly where you want, you know.
Yeah.
Not perfect.
No, it's not. Sometimes it skips a few minutes either way.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit hard for me to always get it too.
Not really.
That came back to me. So, but you know, just in general, I think a lot of these things, you know, there's one of the things. The other thing now is, you know, there's some huge rebel
out there.
Yeah.
Thing that I had heard, I don't know, several years ago, about the divers actually talking about what they saw while that they actually did see something, and like it was a rescue mission underneath the water. Is that a myth?
Well, I've actually not heard that it was a rescue mission.
So that part's a myth.
Yeah. Actually, that's the first time I've heard that. I've heard other things that were, I actually attempted to interview all of the 7 divers that were sent down, right? Mm-hmm. Only 2 spoke with me when they were 2 alive. And back when I wrote the personal book with Don Ledger, we agreed to grant them immunity, but it's a very limited immunity. You know, there wasn't all that many people in the fleet diving unit in those days in Halifax. And, you know, we knew who was there. And like I say, 2 of the men talked very openly to me. And I never heard those claims. But what I did hear was that when they arrived in Shag Harbor, they knew that the object was no longer there or resting on the bottom. And of course, the last known surface position, it was seen moving out toward open sea. But
before you move on from there, when you say that it was seen moving out to open sea, is that on radar or sonar? I mean,
no, this is just visibly that night while it's on the surface. Because remember, when this thing hits the water, when the RCMP and the crowd of witnesses show up by the Moss plant, right? This thing is still floating on the surface.
Oh, okay.
It's still on fine. The Mounties saw this thing. You know, when they got there, it wasn't gone, right? In fact, you know, to paint the picture for you, you met Laurie Wickens. I think you remember him. He was the first person to call the RCMP that night, and like all others, he simply reported that lights or a plane had crashed, that you guys better get here. And when he hung up on the phone, remember, there was no street lights down there in those days on the road. It's dark. The moon had already sat, right? There's no cell phone. They had to drive up the road a bit farther and call the RCMP detachment in Barrington Passage on a public phone. You know, a phone booth. And when they called in and reported that, you know, the Mountie didn't seem that impressed, said, yeah, well, they'll check into it. And when he hung up the phone, the friends in the car with Laurie were saying, like, are the Mounties coming? Are the Mounties coming? They're quite excited because, again, they thought they'd seen a plane crash. And he's saying, well, I'm not sure they believe me. And he was starting to get in the car. They were going to leave the scene. The phone rang and the RCMP called back, said, Wickens, are you still there? We'll stay there. We're on the way. And he said, well, I can still see it offshore. It's still over the water. Stay there. We're on the way. Well, by that time, 6 other people had called in from other locations around the area to report the same thing. So, but when the RCMP got there, they still saw it. Remember, like I said, there were 3 officers that responded. 2 had come from the detachment. The 3rd officer, Ron Pond, he was actually on Cape Sable Island on highway patrol, and he saw it in the air. And of course, when he got to the scene, it was still on the water, moving around.
Did they describe what the object actually looked like when it was on the water?
Well, when it's in the air, people just simply saw the lights. Mm-hmm. You know, 4 lights flashing in the sequence I described earlier, right? The way they move together, the implication is that their lights attached to, you know, one solid object that was described by everybody as being at least 60 feet across. In fact, you know, from the composite information to the Mounties that was passed on to Canadian Forces headquarters, there's a memo that went through, you know, I have a copy of it. It's one of the many documents we have that came from D&D, and I received it on a request before it got included in RG 77 at National Archives. And the thing is, it says quite clearly in that a preliminary investigation has been conducted. This is 36 hours after the incident by the Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax. It has been determined that this object was at least 60 feet across, was circular in nature, and was, in fact, not a missing aircraft, flare, float, or in fact is no known object. And this is on a report that went to the defense minister.
Good choice.
So, you know, the composite of details, they felt that strong, and that's why they decided to order an underwater search ASAP.
Wow. All right. Another one of the myths, I guess, that I have heard, and, you know, perhaps it's just maybe I read in the wrong places or whatever, but that they thought the object had traveled a good distance underwater.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
1 mile, I think it said.
Well, myth or not, the story is that they had believed that, yes, the largely intact object had left the area and had traveled underwater up to the coast off Shelburne and came to rest on the seabed near Government Point, which is the location of the former U.S. base CFS Shelburne. And that was the court.
So does this mean that it could be some sort of black ops air to sea thing? Or is it still going with the alien tag on this one?
I still go alien tag.
Well, put it this way, what kind of vehicle that we have that can, you know, plunge into the water like that?
Well, that's why it's called black ops.
Oh, Paul, come on, we don't have anything like that. We have things that can travel under the water. We have things that can travel in the air. And it's only recently we've had drones that can actually emerge from the missile tubes on a submarine and pop out of the water. That's extremely recent. Now, I think you're forgetting the date of this case, Paul. This case occurred in 1967. So you're telling me we had black op stuff that could actually plunge into the water and travel miles underneath the water?
I don't know.
I think the best thing we can do is just use Occam's razor and say, if it can do that, it's not our tech.
Well, if Roswell crash was real, they may have scooped some advanced tech from that crash, right? And had 20 years to implement something, you know.
Paul, it's like a caveman trying to reverse a flaming smartphone.
Yeah, I've heard
do anything
like
with it.
20 years. Took longer.
No, there's a lot of clever people out there.
Oh, Paul,
well,
look, if you could have something like that, you'd change the whole thing. There would have been no Cold War.
They may not have used it because they only had one that was working, right?
Oh, only one that's working. If they can make one, they can make two, can't they? If they can make two, they can make 10.
No.
Silly now.
No. It's like you getting a smartphone in 1900, but you ain't got the battery charger. You know what I mean? And
well, it's no good. Then you can't use it.
Yeah, but they had 20 years to figure out something, right? To get a way to charge it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so what you're saying is reverse engineered alien technology.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
I don't think so.
No, it's bollocks.
You don't know, guys. We're just guessing still. Anyway, we're just
it's 1967, Paul.
Yeah.
We're still using chemical fireworks to get out of our atmosphere to this day. It's all we've got is fossil fuels.
Well, if they got one secret device and they can't really reveal it and say where they get this technology jump from and all that, they're going to keep it under wraps still. But anyway,
well, you can believe that if you want, yeah.
Coordination Center was Canada's most secret base. It functioned under a cover story of being a biological research station. It was like the Coordination Center for submarine detection for the whole Atlantic Ocean. It was hardwired to a base in Argentia, Newfoundland, and Key West, Florida. and they basically microphoned the whole ocean. The cables for that and the controlling data all arrived ashore right down at Shelburne at Government Point. You can still see where the cables came out of the water to this day.
So how well documented is that they think the object moved there?
Well, this is what the divers told me. Here's where it gets tricky. We have a wealth of data and documentation. We actually have many of the military telexes that went between the bases, regarding the search in Shag Harbor. We have nothing that confirms this story told to me by two of the Granby divers from the Fleet Diving Unit that this thing sat off Shelburne. Although in the story, there's actually more to it. They claim that when the naval ships and the divers arrived, and they held station over this point, when they went down, what they claimed was that there was in fact two UFOs there, and one was lending assistance to the other.
That's what I was talking about.
That's right. Yeah. And that's what was told me. And I can remember at the time being so, this may sound funny now and hard to believe, but believe me, in the beginning, I was really cheesed off by this when they told me this, because I thought, like, I was hoping to avoid those kind of situations like were already problematic even at that point, in the early 90s in Roswell, where you had, different versions of what happened and who was involved and who saw what. And I just thought, well, I hadn't seen that. I hadn't heard that before. I don't remember it from the media.
See, he's a little bit disturbed by this testimony now. This is when things start getting a bit sensational. So it's worth having a reality check here. We don't know if this happened at all. We've only got those two divers' testimony for it. But why would the divers provide this information? I don't know.
He's trying to direct us away from UFO, trying to rescue a UFO now, isn't he?
You mean Chris Miles? I think what all he's saying is. Yeah. When he first got the testimony off the divers, he thought, "Oh no, here we go." Yeah. Is this the story being embellished? I mean, we know how Roswell got out of hand. So many people were jumping in saying, we've seen this and we've seen that. And a lot of those guys have been proved now to be, frauds and liars. Just wanting the 20 minutes of attention and so forth, in their little place in history.
Well, you'll always get that, won't you?
Yeah, but I think once that thing disappeared under the water, I think what happened after that is all going to be speculation,
Yeah.
Until somebody actually goes on the record. And as he said, there's no evidence to back up what happened after that. Anyway, let it run. At least he's being honest. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Media back in the day, it wasn't being reflected in the documents. So I just kind of put it off, and to me it was problematic. I didn't like it. But as time went by, it was clear you can't pick or choose your data, because what we did find is that this story had legs and it just kept resurfacing. And eventually what happened is there was documents that surfaced, like an RCMPX file, that did refer to a second simultaneous search for a UFO off Shelburne.
Really?
So, yes. Yeah. I found that at St. Mary's University in Halifax among the papers of the late Father Michael Burke Gaffney. He was the astronomer that started the program there. He also would investigate UFOs at the time. He was like a community contact for things on the East Coast and worked closely with the air desk in Ottawa. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go finish your thought first.
Well, I'll tell you too that one of the things I did is I went to Ottawa, and I went through and looked for paperwork there and files that couldn't be transferred to Halifax. There were files I knew that existed that weren't part. The RG-77 is a collection they had up there that deals with UFO sightings from the early 60s up into the 80s. And that was available, through the interlibrary loaner system. You could get us sent down to look at it, little 8mm rolls of film, and I looked at all that stuff. But I knew there were documents being held up there that weren't transferable and weren't allowed. And I eventually got a grant from the Fund for UFO Research, went up there and went through them, found some more stuff, but nothing that would knock you over. But while I was in town, I managed to get a 3-hour face-to-face interview with one of the people that ran the air desk back in the day, which was Squadron Leader William Bain. And he was the one who's quoted in the Halifax Chronicle Herald and all the press coverage at the time about the Shag Harbor incident. And he was one of 2 majors, plus a colonel and the other support staff that ran the air desk, which was Canada's equivalent of Blue Book. And I talked to him, and he believed that this was a genuine case, that, they weren't mistaken. It wasn't space junk. There was only 600 things in orbit then, right? Ironically, it was 10 years to the day after the launch of Sputnik.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, isn't it funny? 10 years.
Yeah.
And, but, we talked a lot about it. And, of course, one of the things I bounced off him and I wanted to hear the answer for, he had no idea, never heard the Shelburne story, of this second simultaneous search or whatever. And I showed him why I think it may have happened. I told him what the divers told me. I showed him a copy of the RCMPX file and other things like that were supporting that it may have happened. And he speculated to me it was possible that they'd been stick-handled by the Americans. Remember, that base at the time had just come under dual control. Originally, it flew, it was just a U.S. base on Canadian soil. But in a couple of years before, it had come by an arrangement where, they would alternate, commanding officers and other things. And it was 50% manned by Canadians and 50% by Americans. And the data was shared. And like I say, it had a very important function there, right? I'm one of these things. I'm like a dog with a bone. I just kept going at it. I looked up in the weekly newspapers at the time and tried to find things that would, that they couldn't control, that it would show in other areas. And, but in the end, no, there was nothing that concrete. It remains a story. It may always be. I don't know. But, it's a hard one to understand. And one of the things that's interesting, too, is, when I looked at the newspaper that was closest to the event, which was the one in Shelburne, there was no coverage of the Shag Harbor incident ever. And all the other weeklies, every other paper in the province covered it. Lots of press, right? Lots of speculation. Yes. And the stringer for that paper was a guy who the reporter was Major Victor Eldridge, who was the XO at the base. So I went and I called him, and he claimed he didn't know what I was talking about. And I started reading the story to him back in the day, and he asked me what I was trying to do. And I said, well, I'm just trying to get to the truth. I was hoping I wouldn't put a little pressure on. I said, I hope I wasn't going to have to resort to speculation as to your role in this. And he told me I should be very careful. I don't know.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, being the kind of guy I was back then, I drove right to his house and knocked on his door in the army and went to him and confronted him about it. And he told me I should be very careful. You know what I mean? Just one call and I won't go on about it. But I knocked his door, he opened the door. I said, I was the guy on the phone. I said, you tell the guy, I said, he pays your pension check. I'm too dumb to quit. And I left.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. Yeah.
How about that?
I was still jazzed up. It was all new.
Accidental car crash.
It was like that. Anyway, I'm in Ottawa, right? And I'm talking to Squadron Leader William Bain. He should know. He'd never heard of the Shelburne story. I was very disappointed in that, but I took him at his word. And like I say, he speculated a bit. He even told me that he'd had UFO sightings as a S-2 subtracker pilot off the coast of Nova Scotia, ironically 100 miles off the coast from Shelburne.
What's that clicking sound?
So, he seemed to be very honest about this, but he believed that was a genuine case.
Wow. Now, was Wilbert Smith alive?
No.
At that time, he was not.
No. He died in 1962.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was wondering if he was. So I just had my years off on that. Now, let's talk about how this became an official UFO that was actually determined to be a UFO. By the military, which is the only case that, until recently, with the Pentagon actually admitting, these videos, This was the only other case the military basically had admitted that, right?
Well, when they terminated the search, after the 5-day underwater search they conducted in the area, right? They're saying, no results to the search effort. We don't know what it was. No missing or late aircraft. Guess it was one of those things we never knew what we're looking for. As a result, the case remains open and unsolved. But what we do know is the cases like that, Stephen Michalek and others, were referred to in documents that are archived in National Library and Archives Canada, as it's called now, that state quite clearly that these were cases that seemed to indicate something real on the ground, and was the reason why they closed the air desk and handed it over to the National Research Council for what they deemed serious scientific investigation. However, that didn't quite pan out that way. It did for the first few years. They had a couple of very dedicated staffers in the form of a geologist from Nova Scotia and a professor at the University of Toronto, but they eventually weren't replaced. They didn't call on field units, and by 1999, Canada was out of the business officially. But of course, when these things happen, they still look into them. There may not be a repository for the reports that's available to the public, but they still do. By the way, the guy who gave me the veiled threat, not so veiled threat, and who wrote that story, a month later, when I was going through and looking for things I'd missed, on November 2nd, this is a month after the Shag Harbor incident, he put an appeal with his name on it in every newspaper in Nova Scotia saying military wants UFOs reported, how to get hold of them.
Really?
Yes, and his name is on it, Major Vic Elder. It's on the front page of most papers on November 2nd. But he had no interest. He didn't know what I was talking about. He could threaten me. So it was still a hot potato in some circles.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? So you said earlier you were 12 years old when this happened. When did you actually start looking into the
1992, 93. My first act of ufology was, I think, a letter I wrote to Stanton Friedman after watching a rerun of Unsolved Mysteries. Right?
Yeah.
A partner, a former girlfriend of mine, dared me to do it, saying, I kept saying I was going to. She goes, no, you won't. No, you won't. Made me call him up right there. Turned out I called, this is in the bad old days before calling plans. He wasn't at home, a human answering service answered and give me a number, and I called it, and he was in Austin, Texas, about to go to a talk. He talked to me for 20 or 30 minutes, gave me a bit of sage advice that started me off in the thing. The first thing he said, I'll tell you this, Mark, you'll like this. Friedman said, well, he says, I don't remember that. And eventually he did remember, wait a minute, he goes, something about the harbor turning yellow or something. And he said, well, I'll help you, and I'll talk to some friends at the Fund for UFO Research, and I'll see what else. And he put me on to people that were very helpful to me with the fund and from MUFON. However, you'll like this. He says, you're in luck. He goes, fishermen don't move. And he gave me all that kind of great little practical advice. And I jumped right on it, and I figured, well, it's better than collecting stamps or some hobby like that. And I was over the blocks. I made lots of mistakes, I'll tell you, but I was persistent, and persistence pays off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what you're definitely known for that.
Stan used to call me a bulldog. People say, who's Chris Styles? Like, you notice that little catchy quip that tries to make me look mysterious there, that in this clip that was sent to you. I just wanted to say the answer because I know what Stanton would say. That's what he always said. They go, who's Chris Styles? He goes, Chris is a bulldog. He used to go.
So as the years go on, you're still fascinated by this case, obviously.
Yeah.
And you're still, how do you dig further than? Well,
luckily at this point, I'm not the bulldog I was, I'll tell you. But at this point in time, the case has a certain momentum. Sometimes the many documentaries I was involved with get rerun, or I do a spot on a show like yours, and somebody just makes a connection that didn't know of it, didn't know of my work, and they track me down, whatever. For example, I forget what it was now. God, must be 6-7 years ago or whatever, when we first heard from the pilot and flight engineer from Pan Am 160.
Oh, yes, I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was just great stuff. And you know, the ironic thing about that, there's a chapter in the book. And by the way, if anybody's interested, if this is, you know, turning your crank and you think you want to know more, perhaps the best book I did, I co-wrote with Graham Sims, and it's available on Amazon.com, and it's called Impact to Contact. And the last chapter in the book deals with Pan Am 160, which was just a new find at the time. And it explains well.
Oh, you're breaking up there. Oh, he's plugging his book, yeah. Or movie or whatever. Yeah, you find that most people on Martin's show do that, though, don't they?
Yeah, but for God's sake, look at the amount of research he put into that book. Do you honestly think that he's made £1 million off that little book?
Not really.
No, has he? Hell, he's probably made a great big loss.
Yeah, or maybe just a wee bit of pocket money, but
yeah, a wee bit. It may have sold fairly well in Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of travel costs, petrol costs, airports, and all that sort of shit.
Yeah,
yeah, people don't realise that.
Yeah,
unless you get on to.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we've got a new follower. That's good. Unless you get on to mainstream TV, right? This is where most of these people are trying to do now, right? You got Skinwalker Ranch guy, and you got Ryan Sprague tried to, but they didn't like him too much because of his voice, I think. And and who else has been trying to get on TV? Oh, Dolan's always on TV. You know, Dolan's disappeared. He's on a new show. That's why. What was it called now? Something Mysteries or something.
He's doing a documentary with somebody. I can't remember now.
Yeah, he's definitely on TV. What was the new show I just saw recently? Mysteries something or other. It's a new show anyway. Covering UFO topic, of course. So yeah, although he might only be in a couple episodes on it, but still, I think he spends a lot of time on trying to get exposure on TV and obviously get on Fox News and all that, like the rest of the people out there. I think that's when you can sell your book and actually get people buying it, right?
Yeah. Well, hold on a second now.
Yep. Looks like I've heard from
Dark Object. Yeah. I'm just looking at Amazon now. Dark Object by Don Ledger, Chris Styles. You can pick it up for less than £4.
God, that's cheap.
Yeah. So you ain't making millions out of that.
No.
You'd have to sell millions.
I think on average you'd sell about 300,000 in lifetime, probably, on UFO books. Same with UFO DVDs and stuff, right? So
for about a $5, you probably make about 50p.
No, I think they probably get a wee bit more commission there. I think they'd get at least 30% to 50% on the book sale, wouldn't they?
Amazon
get the most out of it.
Yeah,
it's on Amazon.
And that actually, my mistake. It's actually a bigger book than I thought it was. It's actually 194 pages.
So fair bit of information here then.
Yeah, it may have been a little bit more expensive than that. You can pick up from £4. Brand new.
Yeah, let's do some calculations. So if he sold 300, well, 300,000 people buying it would be realistic, I think.
I don't know.
Worldwide, times.
I don't think so, Paul. I think that's way over the top. 300,000.
So if he sold 2, that's what, $600,000, right? Got $2 off the book. they probably got to pay tax on that too, isn't it? 50%, so you end up with $300,000. I think it would certainly be worth it if he could sell that many.
No chance.
But you reckon it would be a lot less?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know why you use calculate for that, actually.
Yeah, you've got to remember that UFO books.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's millions of them to choose from. The chances of anyone like focusing on your book and nah. There's actually very few books that's made much money. The biggest one I know was Whitley Strieber's Communion. He had £1 million forward on that book, but he was already a fiction writer and a successful one.
A lot of these UFO books do sell for $20 or higher. We saw
37th Parallel as well. That sold really well.
Travis selling his book for $30, and on Amazon it was selling for double that. So if we do that calculation there with 300,000, that's $9 million there that he could have made if he's getting $30 a book, if it's selling that good. But I'd say realistically it'd probably be maybe he's getting $10 of that, and that's still quite good money. That's $3 million, right? So in a lifetime. So some people do make money if there's definitely doing all the conferences, right, and promoting it and selling it for more for signature or whatever. I think if
you're doing books, though, them books are going to dry up in sales. That means you've got to keep bringing books out to keep the sales going.
Yeah, I'm talking about in a lifetime, 300,000, which I think is a realistic estimate worldwide. So if you got the check, if you got checks coming in every month,
UFO book,
I'd like to really know because we're not on that side of it, right? But I'm pretty sure Nick Redfern, with his hundreds of books, is doing pretty okay. I'm pretty sure. But anyway.
Yeah, but there will always be the exceptions out there, won't there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but the average ones wouldn't sell that much books. No way.
I don't know. I just don't know. We just haven't got that information. Dolan's never had to work though. He's done books, hasn't he? So and UFOs.
Dolan's books go down really well.
Yeah, but that's books. Another after another.
Yeah, but he goes to every conference's plug-in. So there you go. You know. So it does work advertising, right? Getting out there.
Of course, if he's there, he can sign the books with him because he's getting more money.
Yeah. It must be paying because you got to pay airline tickets. So obviously, it's probably a really fun job, really, if you think about it.
What do you mean conferences?
I think that might pay, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he gets $5,000 to $10,000 a speaker, and we try to do some calculations on that. And a lot of that stuff is not known to us. But I know Stanton Freeman was shocked even back in the 70s, was it, when he was offered like thousands of dollars, which is equivalent to like a half a year's salary and stuff, you know. So I think there's money in it. You just have to be like recognised. That's all.
If you're on the circuit and you're one of the big names, yes, there's money to be made.
Yeah, well, it's like us, isn't it? When Paul said you want to get a bus to go all at Skin Ranches.
UFO bus he's talking about. It's about getting a UFO bus group together.
Paul's going to pay the bill.
I gotta get donations first, you know. But at least I'm spreading it for UFO research and not just buying mansions and 5-star holidays. But to me, that would be like a holiday, you know. Get together with you guys and just have a lot of fun in the bus and go UFO hunting. I think it would be really good. Someone's going to steal that idea. I think the cousin brothers liked that idea because they were talking about doing that with Gufon, right? And Dr. whatever his name is, Doc Skinner. So there's someone's going to steal that idea that I had. And of course, you could do it like a live stream, but they're thinking of using Amazon. So that'll probably be their next step, right? They're already on Amazon now, so they can just easily set up a streaming thing and steal that idea. You go around all the hotspots and interview people and just make a TV show like UFO Hunters, right? In fact, I'm surprised UFO Hunters didn't even do that. They had the money to set it all up and bypass all the mainstream media because they would come back big and, we want to subscribe to your series. How much can we get your episodes each week and all that sort of stuff? They would probably be big in, but there'd be a lot of wheeling and dealing, I say. Have we got any more after this guy here on Shag Harbor? How many more?
No, we're done.
All right. Okay, we're only coming up to 3 hours, so we'll just carry on, shall we?
Good.
Okay, I haven't caught up on the chats much. What's going on there? Anything that we need to know there?
Yeah. Hold Milavomi. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's the whole Unita Basin.
Hold me, love me.
Yeah. 4 words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cattle mutilations. Well, we sort of covered that.
Oh, yes, so it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we've covered all that. He's obviously new to the channel. We've got lots and lots of content. We've covered so many things, and we're still only scratching the surface, right? When you have other channels attacking us saying that we are useless and no one's interested in watching us, that's because they don't know about us, and we do have really good content here. Especially even my old episodes. Charles watches a few of those old episodes from 4 years ago when I was new to the field, and I did some good research there and combined it all together, wouldn't you say, Charles, as a reviewer?
Yeah.
Now, Charles is only new to the channel. How long have you been with the channel now, Charles? Not that long.
5-6 months.
Yeah. So he's got a lot of catching up to do to see what we've done in the past too. Anyway, we'll just carry on here.
Because ironically, we just put the other pilot sighting to it that never should have been connected, and I always objected to it. And I argued with TV producers, I argued with Don Ledger a few times about it. It was just too far away, and there were other problems. And that was Air Canada Flight 305. And ironically, we'd found, and I talked to the co-pilot from that flight and connected a few other things and tracked down a rocket launch out of Wallops Island. And it was a cosmic ray experiment. They did lots of them back then, and we put it to bed. And the pilots accepted that. We all thanked, kept in touch. And my God, it wasn't 2 months later, I got a call from Stanton Friedman. He said, these guys are trying to find you. They think that they saw this the night before because they got buzzed, and it was a near collision with their Pan Am cargo jet, over the Gulf of Maine, heading just before they crossed over Shag Harbor. And eventually we
I think we might have covered that case,
Lowinger, was the co-pilot, and the flight engineer, Michael Littlepage. They're still alive. I've met Ralph. We were this year, if we had not had
the Pan Am flight. I think we might have covered that one too.
What was the number of the flight?
Yeah, he hasn't said, I don't think, but I think it sort of rings a bell that we may have covered it.
Anyway,
just
to put off the conference till next year due to the COVID-19 concern, then they were both going to come up this year, and I sure hope they can make it next year, that they're still well and still willing. They've been up once before, and they're great guys, and boy, they can tell the story. They can put you in that cockpit, I'll tell you. Because Michael Littlepage, he was, I guess, quite terrified. He was the junior man that night, and like he said, they were just too close, at 500
They were at the
knots.
50th. They were at the 50th, weren't they?
Gee, I can't remember. They've been up, and they were up before. I think so. Yeah.
I think I remember hearing the pilot. But can you tell an account of their story, how they viewed it?
Sure. They used to do a weekly flight that would start at JFK. And the way these things worked in the day, they would fly and they would come up the coast before they got on the right vector to go over to start crossing the Atlantic. And the thing is, like, they would go from every week. I think it was Wednesday night or whatever he said. They would leave, and they would go from JFK over to Heathrow, and then the next night they would go Heathrow to Germany, and then Germany on to Japan, and then the next half of the week was the return, and they have a little time off. Well, anyway, they were on one of these flights, and they're just about in the middle of the Gulf of Maine, coming up to what they used to call the Davie intersection. And I actually have a chart here from that night where they used to write the notes on and everything. So they're just about midpoint, and they notice these lights up in the distance, and the first thing they're thinking, they look almost like landing lights. They're getting kind of bright, but they're distant at first. But eventually they gain on them, and they drop down from above, and they get right in their flight path, in their nose, you could say in their face. And they're starting to get concerned. And a couple times the captain, unfortunately, he was deceased by the time, I got involved and connected with Ralph and Michael Littlepage. But when the pilot, communicates, and at this point, they're still being controlled by Boston Center, right? And he's asking if they're showing anything. And the only thing he's showing on his radar is that there's a flight, a SAC refueling flight about 20, 30 miles behind them, but nothing up ahead. And he eventually gets them to check with the military and all this, and they start to gain on this, and they're getting closer and closer, sort of thing. And they're getting off to the Davies up near that. And that would be the handoff point where they get passed off from Boston to Moncton Center before they start going across.
What's Rob up to?
You're making noise.
Me? What? Is that me?
No. Oh.
I'm not making any noise.
Well, sounds like it.
I can hear rattling, scratchy noise. Is that what you're talking about? That's coming from Rob's microphone.
No, it's not.
No, Rob just leaned back on his put his arms up above his head.
Maybe he's scratching the mic. Is he scratching the microphone somehow?
No, near the mic. The mic's right by my gob.
Well, that scratching noise is not me, and I thought it was from Rob.
Oh, don't worry about it.
That's the Men in Black again, guys. Come on. Well, it could be EVP, of course. Robert's had some strange stuff happening in his house, and so have I. So, but I can hear it in the headset,
So can I.
Right. And what happens is...
Hang on. It might be on the video. I think it might be Martin playing around with his mic or this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's on this video.
They keep communicating. The flight engineer, he's getting more and more nervous, and
Martin,
they're gaining.
Playing with
he
the mic.
Eventually goes up to the windscreen and cups his hands to get rid of what little cabin light there is, so he can see better. And he realizes,
as soon as he moved his hand from over here, that scratching sound stopped.
Is that the four lights on what he's seeing are not external lights, but are internal lights, and that he's looking into the thing. Now, he never sees any movement or beams or anything like that. At this point, he gets really scared. Like he said, I had, it just got him in the pit of his stomach. And he gets back and he goes, Kurt, man, we got to get out of here. Like we're too damn close. If one little thing breaks off this, we're screwed. So Kurt tells them all to calm down, everyone get in their seat. We're going to come out of autopilot. And they're about to do that. And just as they're about to come out of autopilot, this thing starts to shoot ahead, gives them a little distance, then angles up and just right up out of the stratosphere. So they call this in, and Boston Center hands them off to Moncton Center. They asked them if, just like that scene in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, about the Indianapolis sighting, do you want to file a UFO report? And they declined. And they flew on. But what caught them was, I think they heard the media reports about Shag Harbor. It was a couple of days later, they were in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, my God, that's where we were flying over. We saw that thing, maybe the night before, but, And all those years later, they connected with us. Ralph came up and, he wrote and gave us a written statement. And I've since gotten one from Michael Littlepage. And it's not every day you get, a career pilots that give you a written report and testify that, they had a near collision with a UFO.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's in the book.
And back then, you know, in '67, that wasn't something that was reported. I mean, it's still not reported.
No,
There's still, you know, unless they want to ride a desk, you know,
that's
basically.
right. That's right. And they didn't have that interest. They wanted to, of course, the junior guys, but you know, Kurt, what was his name? Kurt Olson was the pilot. Like I said, I never got to meet him. He was already deceased. He put the kibosh on and said, "No, we don't want to file a report." You know.
Yeah.
And I guess it was just like in the movie. They asked them twice. You know.
Yep. Now let me ask this about: did they just?
That follower we got has disappeared again. By the looks of it. That's kind of weird. Let me just check that gang. Kind of weird that it would suddenly drop again, wouldn't it? Still there on that list, because I thought maybe they posted something that was illegal, and there's a auto mod that automatically deletes it so it never shows up in the message. They may have unsubbed.
Oh.
Some people follow just spam each time we're on, right? Spam this stuff. How much more of this video we got to go? Because we shouldn't really play too much more of it, really. I'm a bit worried that we've sort of overdone our stay on it.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. I think the only thing left that he has to say is there's some more witnesses to come forward. That's all.
All right. I think we could leave it there for that.
Yeah, that would then, yeah, because we have played a good part of that now.
Yeah, 25 minutes. We might get in trouble. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But we have sort of stopped it and added our opinions into it.
Just for a like.
Yeah. I have actually heard from William Pullin on Gufon actually just now, so maybe I can drag the comment across before we wrap up. Where is it? Here.
Hold on, what was that now?
Here we go. So I've heard from William because I gave him the link to the BitChute video I did. I'll just move him out of the way. So yeah, what's it saying? I guess it's from William, not his partner. We are aware of his comments about us in our program. It's irrelevant as we have real research to attend to. His own actions will certainly be enough to highlight his personal character. The public can make their own judgments from there. Thank you for your comments and all your support with your efforts. There you go. So someone appreciates what I do. And also he did another comment saying, I've been doing UFO research since the late 1980s, is the other comment I've got.
There you go, I told you.
Yeah, 89 I've got on a web link. He first started. But yeah, that's quite a while, isn't it?
It's over 3 decades.
Yeah, Gufon said it was only 4 years that he's been an investigator. Yeah, I know, he's a complete moron, isn't he?
Yeah, Hold Me Love Me saying he's got a bit of a story here. Blah, blah. Anyway, I'm just going to say join a Discord group and maybe
stick it in
we'll take a
Vetin.
look at it.
Yeah, we'll post it to Robert's room once you get approved and upgraded. I think there's a limitation. You have to be like an active member to get access to more rooms where you can hang out in. But yeah, at the moment it's very quiet in Discord. Let's see. Who's there? No one
just
there.
Me, you, me, you,
I'm not sure what's going on, but since the elections and politics and censorship, everybody sort of abandoned us pretty much. But I'm pretty sure they do visit. I've tried to say something to Susan, but I haven't seen her comment back for a week. Yeah. I know her mother's sick. Are we allowed to show your wife's picture? I got it here. I might just see.
I don't mind.
Let's see.
Just to make it clear now, Susan's mum has passed away.
Has she?
The funeral.
Are you sure? 100% sure?
Well, unless she's lying to me, Paul. Yes.
Okay, because last time you said she died and she wasn't. Anyway,
yeah, that was a message that was put out on Facebook, which kind of suggested that.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook anymore. I've decided to wean myself off Spybook. Now let's see if I can get access to the webpage and do it this way. And hopefully it still works.
I'm sorry for her mother.
Yeah. It was on the cards though, wasn't it? She had other problems.
Yeah.
The C19 is not a good way to go though. With C19. So yeah, this is our Discord group. We've got lots of rooms here that we post stuff into. But mostly, yeah, people hang out in the member lobby mostly, and mothership for voice. Yeah, where's the membership? I'm meant to show you a picture, aren't I? So, yeah, Robert, have you got your merchandise yet?
No, not yet.
Because
not as yet.
Charles has got his. And Charles didn't get any VAP put on it either. VAT, I mean. So yeah, that's the hoodie with that big new crew member logo. It is big though, isn't it? I didn't know it was going to...
Because she likes to keep warm. She can wear jumpers underneath them as well, see.
It looks pretty good.
Cars all iced up, so it keeps her warm as well, see. Because she has to walk to work.
Yeah.
She loves it.
She looks a serious look there. Smile, get away. So I thought you might have done a kendo one with her. You know, have a parrot on there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for posting that. Anyway, at least someone has some merc that they can sort of advertise with. Go and join this UFO group. But yeah, become an active member. You never know, you might get a free voucher for next Christmas. Because I gave a fair bit away. Those hoodies are very expensive though. But what's the quality like on that one?
It's okay. It's okay.
Because they had various makes there, and of course some might be thinner than others, and other ones might be thicker. We have to wait to see what Rob's one gets, because that's what I've ordered for myself too.
I think Bob gets the top quality ones anyway, don't you?
But I will do an unboxing video when mine arrives. Yeah. So yeah, up the top here, once you get approved, you can join the mothership here and talk to us on voice and do live meetings, as we call it, where you can watch the screen to see what we're up to. And of course, you got rooms for UFO stuff, and rooms for paranormal, and rooms for Bigfoot, and all sorts of stuff. I like it, Discord. At least it's not spied on. But you have to still be a
member.
You know, you have to follow the rules, and we have to follow the main rules of Discord. Like, you're not allowed to have hate speech and all that sort of stuff, which makes sense because we're only after. We're talking about the good stuff. We're not really after fighting each other on Discord anyway, which is against our rules as well. But yeah, we welcome everybody, even if they've got crazy ideas. We might say we think you're crazy, and of course then they might leave, but you need a hard skin in ufology. Generally we're pretty good people on that side of things. We don't go out our way to upset people. We just want proof of your story or whatever, you know. Makes sense, doesn't it?
My skin wasn't hard when I come on this, but it is getting harder.
Your skin's getting harder, like elephant skin.
Yeah, it was at the beginning when I was getting attacked.
Yeah, but you've only just come into the scene. I must admit it's got a bit more nastier, but I've been getting that sort of attacks for at least 4 years, especially Tyler fans. But anyway, you're sort of breaking up there, so yeah, we'll let you speak. And
it does seem to have got worse, or the attacks do on everybody.
Yeah, that's all right. It doesn't really faze me much. It's just disappointing that some people that you thought were on your side were only pretending to be on your side. You know, that's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff said about us is untrue too. But they're entitled to their opinion, of course. But yeah, people do watch us. So even though we just lost one sub here, we gained 2 and lost 1, but it might come back. Might be just a glitch in their system on the stats side of things. But yeah, you can see since last weekend. And we got another one. Okay.
It's probably messing about, you know, Paul.
Well, someone might be messing around. We're used to that sort of shenanigans anyway, multiple counts and whatnot. But you can see here we're up just below 800 last weekend, wasn't it? Now we're up to almost midway on it. I think in another week we'll be over 900 on BitChute. It's just growing so fast, and just hope the evil corporations out there like Google and that don't try and get it shut down. They've already tried to cripple it many times. Take away the PayPal and all that sort of stuff, all banking options, and
I don't think YouTube and Google have any future at the moment, you know. They're just starting to censor everything now.
Yeah.
And what they should be censoring, they're not.
Yeah, that's right. They got double standards.
Yeah.
They're dying now. They're just dying out, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's more and more people going over to alternative platforms now. And
Yeah.
there's alternatives out there. You just got to look for them.
Yeah.
I mean, BitChute is good.
Yeah, but the trouble is, though, is that when you move from one site onto another, like, well, as soon as we moved on to Twitch, we lost them, didn't we? They couldn't on here all the while.
Yeah.
And we might have the same problem if we move again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, people don't like change.
No.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, Twitch is a wee bit longer to get used to, I think, than YouTube. And people just have to get weaned off YouTube, right? And they find that Twitch is okay once you understand what links to click on. But we try and make it easy for people, and if they're stuck, they can always come on Discord and ask us, how do you do that? How do you do that? And we got enough experts there to help you out.
Yeah. I think people found YouTube easy to use, though. An easy thing to use.
But we got BitChute Live coming up, and Rumble's the other one that's growing really fast. I'm over 100 subs on that now. But they're going to add a live component there, so we're going to have lots of options coming up in the next month or so. So we're going to have to do some testing before we're going to test it for a live stream, of course. But it may go wrong, as you know.
And then I'll get the blame.
Yeah.
Because it'll be me saying, come on, you do this.
So yeah, you want to do FMNI? I know you probably haven't done one for a while. Let's see, let's just bring it up on the screen. Is it coming up? Here we go. Well, so you want to do Shag Harbor?
Oh, I've got to give it a 4, you know.
Only a 4? I thought you would go the full hog. Or the full sheep.
I'll go to 5.
Do that.
I'll go to 5.
It's just too many missing parts.
No,
too many pieces that need to come together.
I'll still go to 5.
Yeah. I go 4.5 then.
Yeah, I guess I'm a wee bit more convinced that it could be a UFO one than this one. So I've probably gone up from maybe a 3 to a 4, I guess.
Yeah.
But still, I think there's still maybe more information out there that people are holding on to and too scared to say what may have happened because they may get fined. But I still think there was like multiple events that happened, and certainly something strange there with the Russian submarine anyway, and maybe it's connected to them even. Who knows? Or maybe they're trying to... Maybe they shot it down and it landed in the wrong place, because they got that chunk of land mass up there, haven't they, as well? Arctic and all that sort of stuff. Because they got a lot of bases up there. Yeah.
Every country.
Yeah.
That little bit section up there.
Yeah, because there could have been some space debris that come down, maybe some secret Russian thing that went wrong. Who knows? Certainly strange case anyway.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have had flashing lights.
No.
It wouldn't have floated on the water. It would have gone straight down.
Exactly.
Plus, in 1967, it did actually mention this. There was very little up there. Remember?
Yeah, but they were mucking around with high altitude balloons around that time too. Remember, if it wasn't,
come on, it wasn't any type of balloon, Paul.
Balloon.
Well, there was some mention on another Martin. Hang on. There was some mention on Martin's show about some sort of new project. Was it Project Cloud or something like that, where they were mucking around? I can't remember exactly what it was trying to do exactly now, but it was another guy that was a debunker trying to put everything into a box, and of course he wasn't doing too well. But there were other secret projects out there that we didn't know about that he found, which may explain some what happened here, I think. But anyway, who knows? It's like Roswell. It's like Canada's Roswell, isn't it? That one. So yeah. You want to wrap up there, guys, and I'll just end the session and let everyone get some sleep.
Yes. Anyway, special thanks to Hold Me Love Me for joining us tonight. I hope you come again.
Yeah.
And anyone else that's listened in.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys, and see you next week.
To Susan as well, for her mother.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sorry. It's hard losing people that you're used to having around you, isn't it? So that goes with friends as well.
Yeah, time last few months, so.
Yeah. You're used to people coming into Discord and chatting, and when they disappear, you sort of notice there's a hole there in the family, right? So it's sort of the family and your own family, and then the bigger family, as we speak, the UFO family.
Well,
so
I think it's me at the moment. If I just disappeared, you'd have...
Yeah, if you disappeared, Charles, I'll be talking to myself and climbing the walls, I think. Yes, at least I can tell you lots of stuff that's going on that I can't talk about on live, and you know what I mean.
I don't tell nobody. I don't tell nobody nothing. It's all to myself.
Yeah, you know, I'm pretty open mostly, but some things I don't tell for, you know, just in case. I've had a rogue people on Discord before, right? So that can cause trouble. And anyway, we're just going to end the credits now, and you can get to bed and do the chapters in the morning. And yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody, and Robert, and the time he puts into putting the show together. Everybody does their part and tries to make the channel better. We're just getting better and better. We just need a better laptop, and people do get behind us and support us. You know that UFO bus is still possible. It just depends on the right people.
We've got to get the money for it first, so got to
you cut out there. Sorry.
So we've got to get some money first. Get the money.
Yeah, money's always the root of all evil, isn't it? So anyway, I'll just end it now and let you guys do whatever you want. Eat. I think Robert probably eats around about now, doesn't he? Good night, everybody. If you're new to Twitch, hit the follow button so you can get notifications and help us get to that 50 members mark there, so we can upgrade our status on Twitch. But we might not even need Twitch in a month's time, because things are always changing. Good night. Okay, the Matrix is shutting down here, the Kiwi studio.
I'm going right. See you in the morning sometime, Paul.
Okay, and Kendo, see ya.
Right.
Kendo's his parrot. He needs to do a video of him. He needs to get a smartphone and video him and put it up in Discord and whatnot. We can show it on the stream then.
Take back to Charles. No, I was muted.
It doesn't matter. He's gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah, his parrot's meant to be quite funny. Dances to music and stuff. So he should actually upload some videos of him. His parrot's so attached to him, if he leaves the room it starts screeching and going crazy. When he got back from the hospital it went mental apparently. Anyway, it's funny how animals are like humans. Some animals are like humans and they get attached just like everybody else to having people around. Okay, good night everybody.